Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Sitting In podcast. This is a conversation with athletes about real life. Today we're sitting down with Dante Young. Dante is a professional cyclist riding for the Miami Blazers right here on the US Crit scene. Dante, it's my real high-level introduction. How would you describe yourself to the people?
Tall, dark, and handsome.
Starting off strong here.
Chill. I'm a people person. I fucking love the community. I look intimidating because I'm big and black, but I'm actually very nice.
You're also just not just a bike racer, though. I feel like,
I have a big bike racing background. Untraditionally, it's not like the typical, but definitely not just a bike racer. And I think it takes people to actually get to know me because Instagram is very like bikes. But then people talk to me, they're like, "Oh, like you're actually like a real person," and I'm like, "Yeah,
we all are."
Like we all are.
What's something the people of the gram, or what's something you would want the people to know that's not on the gram?
I'm a big nature person. I love outdoors. I like the bikes. Living in LA and living in the city, it's like I didn't even know Malibu was that close. To me, Malibu was like a 3-hour drive away. So like it being like an hour bike ride away. But I love being in the mountains. I have a big family. Lots of brothers, lots of sisters. I'm really social, like really social. Like people see me like Justin talking a bunch of shit all the time and like hanging out. But like I'm like that with anybody. So if I'm on a bike ride, or if I get recognized at like a bar, which sometimes happens, and they're like, "I don't mean to bother you," I'm like, "No, it's good. What's up?
Come bother me."
Yeah, come bother me. Like I'm having a drink. You want a drink? And you're like, "Oh, like you're really like nice in person." I'm like, "Yeah." Like I've met people that I've looked up to. Prime example, I met Shaun White. I didn't meet him. I was watching Shaun White at the X Games. I was a big skateboarder kid, and my sister took me to X Games. Got my like shirt on, my hat's cocked to the side, like I'm like full skater mode, skinny jeans. Shaun White loses, I think, to Bob Burnquist in the vert competition. And I'm like standing there and I'm waiting for a picture. And I'm like, all right, cool. And like he takes a few pictures with a few people. He sees me, looks at me, locks eyes, and just walks straight past me. And I was like, all right. Yeah, tight.
Got swerved.
Nah, it's cool. You lost. It's fine. I get it.
I'll get a picture with the guy who won anyway.
Yeah. I don't even know how to spell Bob's last name, but like it's cool. And then so I never want to do that. So like anyone that stops me, it doesn't matter if I had like a shitty ride or if I lost a race, like I make time for anyone who needs it. So a little bit.
Did you get into bikes because of your family?
No, dude, bikes was I came across bikes. There's a bike shop that used to be a bike shop called Fixie in the Valley.
R.I.P.
R.I.P. And Dat is the owner. His name's Dat. D-A-T is the owner. He started went from the little swap meet area and then found a storefront and opened a bike shop. And my boy Jericho worked there along with my friend Kirk. And I went there to hang out with them, and they were talking about these bikes. And I'm like, man, Fixies are it's like Fixies. Like, I'm kind of dumb. Like, I don't really care about any of this shit. And they're like, yo, this is a new craze. Like, this is the thing. And this is 2011.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, whatever. So I hopped on one, and I actually had a lot of fun. And I just wanted to have fun. So I found one that was on Trick Track, Facebook Marketplace for $200. Pink tires, spray painted silver frame, pink bar tape. And it was a old 10-speed conversion. So it wasn't even a real fixed gear bike. And we rode everywhere. We rode from the Valley to Venice Beach, AP to Sturrock Girls, ride back, mobbing through downtown, just doing a bunch of dumb shit. And it was tight. And then...
How old were you?
16, 17.
Okay. So it was late teenage years.
Yeah. That's when I discovered it. And then I found out that there were black people in the Fixie game. That's when I found out about Emmy Brown, Rahsaan, Lonzo Tall, these guys, and they were legends at the time, and still are. But in that era, they were the giants of fixed gear. And I was like, yo, this is tight. That's when Vimeo was popping off. So all the videos were on Vimeo. So I'm on Vimeo heavy. And then I was like, yo, I'm gonna get into this. So I became like a super hardcore Fixie head, cut off jeans, chrome shoes, messenger bag, lock. Like I was just about that life. And then CBNC, which is the group that Alonso was in with Alvin Escajeda and Sean Martin, they were doing a tour and they were like raising money for this like bike riding tour across the country or whatever. And they had a fixed gear race underground at USC. And I showed up for the first time. And I was like, all right, I think it was like $5 to get in. There was probably like 60 people that showed up. Winner takes all. And I hopped in there. I got lapped 4 times.
Yeah,
but
dude. That was the Fixie experience.
Yeah, but I had the best time of my fucking life. I was like, yo, this is crazy. And there's like live traffic, no barriers, no nothing. Just blow the whistle, have a helmet on, have some lights, do you. And then from there on, like it switched from like fixies to like underground fixed gear crits all over LA. And then that's like that from there it snowballed to where we are today.
What was the underground fixed gear scene like? So you're 17, this is all new to you. Like what's that experience look like when you're this underground scene that you're discovering seems sick. It probably translates to skate too, right?
It kind of felt like the party scene a little bit, like where you get a text and like a link to a underground party, or you get a flyer, you go, you show up, you pay $10 to entry, you go vibe out and you leave. So like you would get an invite on Facebook to an event, or someone that knows someone, but find an invite. It's like 6th Street Bridge race, 8:00 p.m. Friday night or Saturday night or whatever. You show up, it's all these fixies, people are smoking, they're fucking playing music, they're just chilling, right? And it's like all walks of life. So it's like white, black, Latino, whoever it is. And then you show up, there's some guy calling out, give me your money. They write down your name, they take your money, and then they just say, here's the they put a picture of the Google Maps. This is the route. So when you get there, you should know the route or the circuit. If you don't, then like that's on you. And then you like have a helmet, pay $5, have some lights, have fun. And then you just race for 45 minutes. And it was never really like anything long. And then as you're racing, you'll hear someone say, semi-truck. And you look up, there's a big rig and you got to like dodge the big rig and get back on course. Or they'll say clear. So you run through like a full intersection. That's a part of the course. And then afterwards, like they do a podium, you win some swag from Nog or Chrome Industries or whatever. And then they all just sit there and like, or go to like a McDonald's and we just eat food, and you get home at like 1 a.m. and then that's it. And it's like it's a whole vibe. Everyone rides there or they take the train there, and it would happen every single weekend, like almost all year long. Like, and when I needed money sometimes, I just throw a race. I'm gonna throw a race, $10 entry, I get 100 people. I'm gonna take like, a few $100 and give it to first place. And now I have some money to pay my phone bill. Like, that's how it was.
Were your parents like, what the hell are you doing, dude? Like, were they confused?
So like, I grew up with my grandma and my sister. And then, so my grandma passed when I was 12. And then my sister took on that, not burden, but took on.
You're saying that you're a burden, bro?
Took on that responsibility. And then 6 months after she had passed, she had just had twins. So it was me, these 6-month-old twins, and my uncle, who was like 50-something years old at the time. So when I started riding, she was like, yo, like, college. And I'm like, yeah, bikes. And then she's like, I'm never home, I'm leaving, I'm coming home late, or I'm like leaving mad early in the morning to go ride, and I don't come home till like 8:00 at night. So I'm going from like 8 to 8 just on my bike all day. And then I started doing races at the velodrome on these summer series races, like every Saturday or whatever.
At Encino?
At Encino, yeah. And then she came to one, and it was like 6 races. I got dropped every single race. Every race. Missing out, scratch race, points race, match sprints. And the only race I didn't get dropped from was the kilo, or the Flying 200s, because it's like,
You're on your own.
You can't.
Yeah, but I got obliterated, and afterward I was like, "Wasn't that awesome? I'm doing it again next week." And she's like, "That was horrible."
You got your ass kicked.
But at the time, we were staying in Pacoima in San Fernando, and it was like, that was crazy because it was like super gang heavy, shootouts in front of my house every day. I watched dudes get like laid out and like in front of my building, like numerous times, drugs. So it's like, there was a lot going on there. And so she's like, well, you're not in a gang. You're not doing any drugs. You're not dead. You're just riding around in these tight ass clothes all day. So it's like, she went from being like, you need to stop doing all this to being like, go ahead, because like all my brothers have done dumb shit. You know, like some have been locked up for 20 years doing some stuff. So it's like, I'm not doing anything my brothers are doing. I'm just riding around my bike and having fun. So when I transitioned to that and she saw how committed I was, that she kind of just like let me do my thing. And then when I found out about road crits and the Williams brothers and Rahsaan, Sharon, like all these people, then that is what sparked in me of like, oh shit, like, could I have a future in like bike racing? Because I don't see any black people. I see a few, but I'm not too sure. And then Red Hook was popular. So now I'm thinking about, I can go all over the world if I could just get there. My friend Jericho loved leader bikes. So it was my goal to be a leader bikes athlete because of him, because I wanted to do it in his honor. So like I was like connecting like leader bikes to Masan and Emmy and Alonzo, to opportunities to race Red Hook all over the world. And then like Criterium racing is also big on the road. These dudes are like pros, like real pros. And there's another area of bikes that I could like tap into. So like, it just became like, just like building step of how my career started. So like, once I'm sure you guys know about Wolfpack Hustle. So like Wolfpack Hustle was like
before his time.
Yeah, it's before me. Explain it, yeah.
So Wolfpack Hustle was an LA, like it was the LA Fixie culture. They started having a ride that it was called the Marathon Crash Race. So during the LA Marathon,
Like the morning of.
the morning before it even started, it starts at like 7.
Yeah, super early.
We would start the race at 4 in the morning. Everyone would meet at this donut shop called Tank's Donut, and you would have like 1,000 bike riders just sitting there. But the top like 100 would like register for the race. But it was like a race / Grand Fondo on a closed circuit that we don't got to pay for.
Yeah.
Because it's already closed off for the marathon. And we would race. You would finish the same place that the marathon finishes, and the winner would get dog tags. And if you won the Wolfpack Hustle dog tags, it's like winning like nationals. It's like you have something that no one else can get.
Your Fixie royalty.
Your Fixie royalty, yeah. So that was like a huge thing. And then he started making more races. So he had like the Long Beach drag race sprints. He had the Wolfpack Hustle Civic Center Crit.
And who's putting these on at that time? It's the Wolfpack Hustle guys.
Don Ward, I think his name was.
Okay.
But he was the owner of Wolfpack Hustle. And he was like just a bike rider. You know, he just loved bikes. But he's a part of the underground community. And then the Marathon Crash was such a big race. And then he went on and had the drag race sprints in Long Beach. And I got second, I believe, to Nate Cook, who's a national sprint on the national sprint team. And so he was like the best one there. So I got second to him. And that was like a highlight because I was so close to winning dog tags. But it gave me a lot of recognition because I'm on the Wolfpack Hustle podium, which is like being on like the podium at Tulsa, you know. And then I was a mover at the time, and I was doing a job in Santa Monica, and I got a email, or I got a call actually from someone that emailed me, and they were from Leader Bikes, and they're like, "Yeah, we want to offer you a contract." And I was like, "Word?" They're like, "Yeah, we're gonna send it over. It's pretty." I didn't even read the shit. I just like signed it. I was like, "I don't care."
You're like, if it's leader.
Yeah, it's Leader Bikes. And
Was that for the leader undefeated team?
That was before then. Yeah. So I signed with Leader,
And so you were still how old? Still like 17, 18, or has this been a couple years of
Legion
development?
Started in 19, and then I was on the concept team for 3 years, so 18, 17, 16. And then 16, it was concept team and leader undefeated.
Mm-hmm.
And then I was on leader, so I want to say 2014.
Okay.
So 2014 is when I signed with leader. And then they flew me out they drove up to San Diego, went to the HQ, built me a bike. I did a lot of content. I was always here. We rode from LA to San Diego, me, Alonzo, and Alvin. And like that gave me my like big break. Because at first they were just feeding me frames. They're like, oh, send us your old leader bikes. We'll send you a new leader bike. And that happened for the first 2 years.
Seems like a hell of a deal for you, right?
For me,
You're like
as a
paying
Fixie
for your
kid,
bikes.
I'm getting like a $800 Kagero or whatever. I'm like, great. And then when I signed, I had the jersey as leader bikes jersey, and like it gave me some like respect when I showed up to Fixie crits that I still wasn't winning. So then from that, but then it shifted from like the second year of leader bikes, I started winning crits, and then we had the SoCal Fix series.
Oh, dude, that was so sick.
And it was, dude, like underground, people don't understand, like in LA, we had Tulsa already.
Yeah,
we had
we
our
had to
own
figure it
version
out.
of it. So the first SoCal Fix Series race had 170 entrants to the men's race,
All fixed.
all fixed gear.
On like
Damn,
these little courses.
Yeah,
That's so rad.
it was crazy.
Yeah.
And then and then everyone paid $10.
That's a better prize purse than like
And it was
90% of the
only-
races in
and it was
America.
only
bro.
top 3 gets paid.
Shit.
Yeah.
So
Sign me
like
up.
they were still like pocketing some, which is fine. Yeah, great.
Yeah,
but
of
like,
course. Take your cut.
I'm doing a 45-minute race making $800. And I'm like, yeah. And then I'm still splitting with my team, but we're all like hyped because we're just like, dude, fuck yeah. Like that's no brainer.
Bro, that pays for your food afterwards or like beer, whatever.
So you had a 10 race series of SoCal Fix series, plus there was still underground races happening, plus CBR had 10 races and then Ontario had 10 races. We had Dana Point Grand Prix, we had
Manhattan
Brentwood Grand
Beach.
Prix, we had Manhattan Beach. So I was doing 2 or 3 races a week between track racing, fixed gear racing, and crits, road crits.
So you're already racing road crits at this point.
I'm already
So there's the overlap. When did that overlap start?
that was second year of
Leader.
those leaders. So that's 2015.
And so you said that kind of sparked when you started seeing like Rahsaan, Justin, Cory, all those dudes racing. So from the inclusivity perspective of things, like you said, when you popped out to like the first fixed gear crits, underground stuff, you saw people of all types there. And like that was super inspiring, right? You're like, dude, I'm here, I fit in, what's up? Like, let's do this thing. How did that transition work into the road scene? Because I feel like the road scene maybe didn't feel as inclusive, right?
That was the difference, because like when I fixed gear, it was primarily people of color. It was, so like, and it was so vibrant. Like the energy was so cool. It was affordable. The bikes were affordable. So like I had already a flawed interpretation of what cycling is. And then I went to my first crit, I believe was Brentwood Grand Prix, which I think that was the last year they had it. And it was just fucked up course. It was one of the hardest races I've ever done in my life. Justin and Rahsaan still talk about how hard that race was. But it was this race in Brentwood, and the race, I think my race was $30 or something like that. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of a lot of money, because I'm used to paying $5-10.
And winning 800.
Yeah, and winning $800, and then there's no money, or there's no prize money. It's like a medal, right? Or it's not, because it's a Cat 5 race, so you got to get, work your way up. But it was just all like white people. It was all a bunch of white kids, juniors. It was a big junior race. In the main race, it was just like Rahsaan, Sharon, Justin and Cory, and like maybe like a few Mexican riders, but it was just like 100-man field of like white dudes. Like Bobby Lee won that race by himself, which was crazy.
Have you ever, really quick aside, have you ever read, there's a Forbes article about Bobby Lee. Mm-hmm. I hope he doesn't listen to the podcast. I read it because I was talking to someone about Bobby Lee, and I was like, oh, see, like I'll like try to pull a picture of him, and the Forbes article is like this man is going to the Olympics and he's in $35,000 of credit card debt. It was so brutal. I was like, man, dude,
he was like,
sorry, Bobby.
Sorry, Bobby.
But like, he was the first person I watched that was like just gangster. Like, he showed up, state championship race. We take state championships very seriously. And so state championship race, KHS is there, Surf City is there,
all the big American
all the
teams,
Jelly Belly, a lot of big guys, or there's representation from all the big teams at the time. And it's not an easy, nor is it a flat course. It's a long course too. And he goes like from the gun. Like, he had a Cervelo with these like envy wheels. He's like pursuit style, flat back in it.
Just
like, straight flat back, bro. Like, he goes off from the gun and they can't bring him back. And then KHS puts a full team on the front, brings him back. And he's just like, I'm just going to go again. And he goes again. He takes one rider with him and he just sat on for dear life. And Bobby Lee just went ape shit. And I'm sitting in Chipotle like, this guy real fast, man. And it was like so crazy. And then I did my research on him and I was like, oh, he's a multinational champion. He's training for the Olympics. He's like a really good track rider, national team, so forth. But basically from that point on, when I started going to CBRs, I saw the same thing. Like, it was just very like ones and twosies. It was like they're paying crappy music. It's like not when anyone's there. Rate is $50. Prize money is a few $100. And I'm like, dang, this is kind of crazy. And then like there's like 5 black people there that I can count on like one hand. And I'm like, that's so weird. But like, I wanted to do it because I'm thinking I'm like, everyone knows like the steps to getting to like
you need that
pro
long-term rep to get to the and all those dudes are racing road also.
And I'm thinking about how like, oh, okay, well, if I want to go to Europe, if I want to do this, I gotta like, this is what I gotta start doing and do road races and crits and all that stuff. So it took a while to like understand, but then like from that, Justin and Endo Customs and which is Bobby Endo, who's a clothing manufacturer, and they started the concept team, which was an idea of merging Justin's professionalism of his side of the sport with our fun fixed gear side of the sport. And then I remember Alonzo being like, yo, you should come try this out. Like, come here, like you can learn something, but I think it'd be a good fit for you. Because I was trying to go ride for the Bahati Foundation, and Bahati's like, yeah, man, you can come, but like, this isn't a race team, like this is a club. So I don't want you to get confused thinking that like, you're going to be on this bike racer. I thought, okay, that makes sense. Like, he's like, yeah, I just run a club for the community. Went to the concept team, and the concept team was like, we're a Cat 3 team, or going to be trying to focus on being a Cat 3 team, and we were going to do all the crits in SoCal, and then make dope content, make dope clothing. That's when we first started prioritizing content over bikes, and then we did Tulsa for the first time. And that was my first big race other than Dana Point, because Dana Point was like massive. And that changed. We were the biggest thing in SoCal, and we were just some bunch of Cat 3s. But like, we did dope stuff. We made like a hundreds money base layer in Jersey. People went crazy over it. It was so sick. We went to Tulsa. We made an oil spill jersey or skin suit, because Tulsa used to be the oil capital of the world, apparently. We had like this Versace print jersey that we wore at Tulsa. The sweater that Biggie wore, the Coogee sweater, we made a jersey. We just made this dope stuff. We made like tech tees, and then we went to Coachella wearing matching tech tees with like our names and numbers on the back, and we were just like partying, and we just like documented the whole thing. And then like, everyone knew who we were, and we signed like a deal with Cannondale, and I realized global impact, because Cannondale and Bobby are the reason why I got to go to Europe for the first time, because there was this thing called Rad Race, and Rad Race had this series of different bike events all over Germany, and they had this one. It was called the Last Man Standing. And it's basically an elimination style race on an indoor go-kart track. So it's like 8 people, top 4 move on to the next heat kind of thing.
And this still exists, right?
Still
in some
exists,
capacity, yeah.
So I did this in 2018, and they're like, "Do you want to go to Germany?" And I'm like, "I don't have a passport." And Bobby's like, "I'll pay for it." And I was like, "All right." He's like, "Here's some money. Go get your passport." And I still use the same passport to this day.
It's probably expired now.
It's about to, actually.
Yeah.
But I remember my sister, she's like, I'm like, "Hey," first time I was like, "Hey, I'm going to go to San Francisco for this race." She's like, "Well, how are you going to get there?" And I'm like, "Well, they're paying for it." It's like, "Well, what about food?" Like, they're paying for it. It's like, "What about hotel?" I'm like, "They're paying for it." She's like,
Did she believe you, or did she think you up for some bullshit?
"No,
She's
she
like,
believed me," because
yeah.
she's like, "I know you can't pay for it." So it's like,
Somebody's got to.
somebody got to pay for it. And she's like, "All right, when do you be back?" I'm like, "I don't know, Monday." She's like, "Okay." Same when I went to New York for the first time for Red Hook. "Hey, they're flying me out. Who's paying for it?" "I don't know, they are." And so then I'm like, "Hey, I'm going to Germany." She's like, "How?"
Who's paying for it?
She's like, "You don't even have a passport. Just got it." She's like, "Who paid for it?" "They did." She's like, "What about the flight?" "They're paying for it." She's like, "For real?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
You're not going to believe it, but they paid for it.
They paid for it. And I went there, culture shock, crazy. I'm across the pond. And I remember I met these people from Rad Race, like this group of people. I'm like, "Oh, like I'm Dante." And like, "Yeah, we know who you are." I was like, "What do you mean?"
Damn.
And they're like, "Yeah, dude, like you guys are dope. We follow you guys." And I was like, "You're in Germany?"
Yeah.
And they're like, "Yeah." And I was shook. And I'm like, how does people from like thousands of miles away know of me? Like, I'm not anyone. But then like, and some people were like, "You inspired me," and like, "You're this, like, you're so cool." Like, I started riding because of you. And I'm like, what the fuck? This is wild. And then I made it to the semifinals in the last man standing. And I think I crashed.
That sounds
shit.
right.
Yeah. But it was wild, bro. Like, it mimicked exactly the SoCal culture, you know? And in Germany, there's people from all over the world now, not just all over LA, all walks of life, thousands of people inside this small ass go-kart track. And we're just vibing out. And I'm like, this is a crazy experience. But I'm like, how much more can I go now? I'm the only person in my family that's left the country. Only person in my family that's really like traveled. I've been like 30 different states. Only person in my family that's actually traveled. And now I'm international. And then that year, I went to 3 different countries. I went to, beginning of the year, I went to Germany. Then I booked a one-way ticket on WOW Airlines, which is like the European Spirit, for like $300 to go to London. And then Justin was already in London. And we're like starting our friendship. I'm like, "Yo, I'm in London." He's like, "Yo, I'm in London too. Pull up." And now we're chilling in London. Like, yo, how is it crazy? The 2 boys from the city, we're just chilling in London right now to ride bikes. And then we went from London straight to Milan to race Red Hook Milan. And that was the last one they did.
Was that the year that even Cortina won?
No, Cortina won the year before.
What year before? I raced that one.
The one the following year, Filippo 14 won. And then him and Justin
crazy.
had beef.
Yeah, dude, that was crazy.
And it was just like, that whole trip changed how I went about the next 6-7 years. That whole year, actually, because it was just like, it was like such a stepping stone in like my career. Like, I tell people, like, I race all over the world. And like, "Oh, did you do like Roubaix? Did you do like the national?" I'm like, no. Like,
It's different.
It's different for me. Like, I went through fixed gear, and they're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Track racing on the street." And they're like, "What?"
Yeah.
I'm like, "Yeah, it's like I've just done things differently." So I've had such an unorthodox run into bikes, but like, because of Justin and because of Cory and because of seeing how they struggled on the pro circuit with like not getting opportunities or getting spoken to a type of way, or like, it made me not care to go have ambitions to go pro tour or even try to. Like, dude, I don't want to do that. Like, at the time I was like, I would much rather race locally and have fun and travel. And then when Legion was starting, Justin was starting the team, and I was like, "Hey man, like, just give me a jersey. Like, I'm just gonna race locally. I believe what you're trying to do." Is basically like, I want to make the concept team, but I want to make a pro version of it. And I was like, I believe in it. I want to support it. Like, I may not be good enough to be a part of the team, but like, because he just want to do a 6-man team. And I was like, yeah, just give me a jersey if you can. Like, that's all. I just want support. And then we needed a rider, and that rider was racing, I think, the Tour of Colombia or something like that. And they needed a 6th guy. So Justin was like, hey, I'm going to give you a shot. And I was like, what?
What race was that for?
Well, this was just the ethos of the team.
Oh, yeah.
So he's like, this was like going into 2019. And he didn't tell me that he was going to sign me. They posted it on Instagram like, and then our last rider is Dante Young. And I'm like, what is this? And he was like, step up, motherfucker. And I'm like,
time to ride your bike.
all right. He's like, yeah, this is it. If you do it right, it will change the rest of your life. He's like, the next 5 years are going to be really important. He's like, you have some of the best talent around you, learn from it. And I can get even into that, but like just that part like changed everything for how I ride my bike today, which is like another thing of like how I see so many athletes that don't have or know that didn't take those steps or were taught those things, because there's a common misconception of like what is needed to be a criterium, not a bike racer, but primarily a criterium racer.
Because it's different.
It's very different.
It's not.
Criterium racing is a skill-based sport. It's not. Road racing is power. It's power-based. If I go up a hill and I go this speed at this power, I will get there at this time.
Yeah, it's an equation.
It's an equation. Criterium is not an equation. A criterium racing is skill. It's handling. It's like cyclocross. If I don't have skills on a bike, I can't hop into a cyclocross race and do good. But I guarantee you a cyclocross racer could do okay on a downhill course, right?
Yeah.
It's skill. Those go hand in hand. Criterium racing is a bit of both. And I tell people when I try to educate people that the strongest person in the race doesn't always win the race.
They usually don't.
They usually don't.
They usually burn themselves out on the front of the race and then wonder what happened.
I watch people who are like, I reference this all the time, but the last time that Justin won night 1 of Tulsa, he hadn't been training at all. He'd been working, building the programs, meeting with sponsors. He hadn't had any time to train. And he hopped into that race, 90 plus kilos, like 210 pounds, and he raced it off of skill. And the whole team fell apart. Everyone and their mom was like, he's going to lose this race. And he finessed it off of skill.
I remember that.
It was one of the most gangsterous wins I've ever seen. And that he's got Wakanda chain on, blue jersey, stupid mustache. And he won. And I'm like, it's pretty crazy because like I have a lot of skill and I've learned from him. I've learned from CJ, I learned from Cory, I learned from Rahsaan. And just by like, and they all took under the wing of like CJ taught me how to navigate through a pack. Mm-hmm. He's the best out of all 3 of them.
I feel like CJ gets slept on, and
he's a sleeper.
Yeah. If
you've been in a race or a group ride with CJ,
yeah, he's smooth as hell. You can follow him right up through the middle. It's like, how did he get through that gap, bro? I can't get through that.
Dude, I think I was like 200 pounds, and he was like 230, 240. And he was like, we looked at the race, both sat in with the power profile. He's like, how am I 30 pounds heavier than you? We're doing the same thing, and I'm averaging like 50 watts less than you.
Yeah.
He's like, you're too choppy. You're a sprinter. You shouldn't be riding so choppy. It's a flow. So then he would take me to group rides, Montrose, 120 people there, straight to the back. He's like, sit on my wheel, follow me to the front. Do not lose my wheel. I'm bigger than you. I'm wider than you. If I can get through it, you can get through it. And he's getting through gaps this big. And I'm like losing the wheel. Excuse me, can I get, sorry.
That works in crit racing too, right? Excuse me.
Yeah, right. And then but it gave me so much confidence on navigating when I learned how to stretch out my effort and how to ride through a pack. Like I should be able to get through any race. Turn out even I did Tulsa and the 1-2s and everyone's like, bro, like how are you so smooth? And like, I don't know, I just learned in that practice. Like I'm learned how to contact. Justin and Cory always ride like this. And I was so confused by it. And then I would always train with Cory or I always train with Justin, and they would force me to do the same thing. They come over and I'm like going like this. And they're like, bring your ass over here. And I'm like, all right. But then like it was repetition. So everyone that got into a race, like I ride with you and he'll avoid a rock and run into me. I won't even bat an eye. But it's like, these are different skills that I've learned and that they've learned. And it's a reason why they're some of the best in the country and probably even in the world. And the people need to understand, like, if you're going to race crits, like, it doesn't matter how much power you do. And if you don't take the time to learn how to turn, how to carry momentum, how to shift your weight, how to balance your bike, how to sprint, when to back out, when to create contact, when to not create contact, all these little things, if those little things add up to being like a 20, probably a 30% advantage over someone that can do 400 watts per an hour or 6 watts per kilo.
I feel like people found this out that, like, I think that one of the big things that changed this year about American crit racing is all of a sudden international talent is coming for American crits. Mm-hmm. And I think that those dudes all had a wake up call when they came and raced in the US. Like the Germans with the DCC guys, those are some bad men.
First of all, I like those guys.
Yeah, no, they're rad.
Like, I'm a big dude. I'm like 6'1", I'm like 190. And like, I saw those dudes, they're all 6'1", all 190. Like, and I'm like, hell yeah, big boys. But like, they came over here with like a chip on their shoulder, like, oh, like they're the best crit team in Germany, like hands down. Nobody can beat those guys. They win nationals every year with a different rider. Like, they're fucking good. And they came over and they were just like, yeah, we're gonna just go ahead and just
write some checks.
Yeah,
to us.
just go ahead and pre-fill those out for us. And first of all, like, I love crits so much. Justin and Cory love crits that like we're so prideful. So if you're gonna come to our territory, we're gonna make you work for it. Like, I don't know if other teams do that, where it's like you're stepping into our arena.
This is home turf,
if you
man.
leave
Yeah.
with like, and you win, that's disrespectful. The fact that you think you can come here and take what's ours is disrespectful, and that's how like we interpreted it. So when like they came, I think the first race they did was DC, and Cory was like, nah. And then so like someone tried to ride up through the train, and you know Justin's a bully. He's like, nah. And I was just with him in Harlem, and then we were talking about it, and he's like, yeah, like, he said, you guys are the real deal. And he's like, we wanted to go with the best team in Germany, and we wanted to go to the place that has the best criterium racing. We knew we had to come to the States. So I'm like, first, that's a dub. That's a win that you know that. Everyone, when I was in Legion, you're like, you guys are so good. Come do a Kermesse race in Europe. Like, we don't race Kermesses.
Yeah, they're different.
They're
race
different.
crits. If you think you're so much better than us in crits, come to the crit mecca capital of the world.
Yeah, come race Tulsa.
Come race Tulsa. And then they were like, we realize you guys are very physical. Like, not just Legion, but everyone's like, you guys love contact. And you guys are a lot faster than we thought. But like, also, you guys have so much more money in crits. You guys have 20, 30,000 people showing up. We're not used to that. And it's insane. And we love it. We're going to come back every year if we can. And they came back this year. They raced Tulsa last year the first time. They won one day. No, they only won DC.
Yeah, I was like, I don't think they won any stages last year.
They lost. Cory won the first day. It was wild. This dude was doing like 75K an hour on this downhill sprint, and the first day of DC was insane. I was like, I don't know how this little motherfucker sprints so fast. Like, and it was so crazy because it's like a dip downhill running sprint, and behind him is like Danny Summerhill and Justin Williams, the biggest people in the race. And he pulled away from them on the downhill part. And he has the rear camera, and you see Justin. And I'm like, bro, that's so gangster. And then the second day was a 100K crit it was like 500 turns in the race. It's
God.
It's like less than, I think it's less than a K, and it's like turn. And the Germans went ape shit, and they went out of a breakaway. Andreas Mir, I think. But then it came back this year. They didn't win much. They won one day of Tulsa. I think that's it. That's all and they won Harlem, when I was just at. But they have such they left at home and came back with so much more respect for what we do. And they said everyone's always asking them like, yo, what's it like? Are they good? Are they actually as good?
Yeah, there's doubt there.
And they're like, those fuckers are real. Like, and then this year, even more. We had 2 teams from the UK showed up, 1 team from New Zealand, 1 team from Germany. Like, that is what we need, and it's not publicized enough by like media outlets.
Yeah, they're not saying like Ribble of UK, right? Like, you know, they're not
saying anything.
They're not
like,
alluding to that stuff, and that's what draws audiences from other places around the globe.
I think it's also like, you know, everyone knows that if you want to go race a kermesse, like you go to Belgium. Mm-hmm. If you want to race a road race, like
Europe.
Anywhere, Europe. Like if you want to race, you know, like I feel like every discipline of cycling has like a mecca. And I think that for some reason, like crit racing always gets rolled into like road racing. And then they're like, which I feel like it shouldn't. Mm-hmm. And then, so no one's like, oh, well, crit racing is its own thing. And like, oh, well, where do we race crits? Like in the States.
Yeah. It's a few things. Like there's not a lot of respect in it. Like a lot of people that come from road racing and come over to crits, like it's easy. Like I met some guy at a CBR and he was like,
well, it's easy to be in like the top 10 of a CBR, but it's not easy to win that race.
And he doesn't need to know that. But he's like, oh, like I met him and he's like, oh, like, I mean, you doing any of the big races? He's like, yeah, I'll be there. Like, I don't gotta train much. I'll do like 7 hours a week and I'm gonna do Intelligentsia. I was like, you're not gonna finish it.
You won't even see the front.
It's gonna be hot as hell.
First of all, Intelligentsia is ruthless in the pro field.
Yeah,
it's hard. So I'm like, dude, crits is not easy. And a lot of the guys like Freddie Levette came and raced with us. Strongest dude that I know. That
he like trains all the time with Vanderpool.
Yeah.
He's like,
but when he came over to race crits for the first time, he had a hard time. He's like, yo, this is so different. Like Tyler Williams was on BMC. When he came to race, he was scared. Like I remember his first race we did together was Boise. I'm like, dude, how you feeling? He's like, dude, I'm kind of terrified.
Your crits are kind of chaos if you're not used to them.
I'm like, dude, you're one of the strongest guys here. Like, you'll be fine. Like,
so you've seen like the Velo NCC like rear cam stuff where they're all bumping in the sprint, and I feel like if people don't understand, that's an entire crit.
Yeah. So it's funny.
The whole thing.
I was talking to.
It's that for 75 minutes.
I was talking to Annemiek van Vleuten. I saw her in London, and I was trying to convince her to come race Tulsa because she had just retired.
She was like.
She actually was like, no. She was like, sure. And I was like, wait, what? She's like, yeah, why not? Like, I don't care. And I was like, first of all, don't play with me.
Yeah.
Don't play with me. But she's like, what is it like? And I was like, okay, you know how it is last 5K of a sprint stage? And she's like, yeah. And so you know how it is last 3K of a sprint stage? She's like, yes, it's fucking madness. I'm like, that's how it is for our races for 75 to 90 minutes. It's just a long sprint stage. But imagine you're going into a super technical run into a sprint stage. 3K to go and you turn like every few seconds. It's just so technical. And then you come out of the corner and then there's the lines like 300 meters out. That's how it is for a crit. And she's like, she can visualize, like, oh, that makes perfect sense. And I was like, that's what we do. And I was like, it's essentially the same thing as a cyclocross race. It's just not on dirt.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, I've talked to a few people, you know, that are like pro tour, and they've all had the same questions. And when I explain it as that, they understand, and they have. It's still very different, but it's like it gives you some type of understanding of what it's like
a baseline.
It gives you a baseline because I mean, you guys do it at you know, after 4 hours, you know, 230K of racing. Yeah, we don't, but we started like a cyclocross race. From the gun, we go.
Yeah.
And there's so many variables, so many factors. And it's not like cyclocross where it's not really I don't really know, but it doesn't feel like it's a team sport. It's just like whoever can hang with Vanderpool and wow. And in the crit racing, it's more team sport.
Yeah.
But it's very skill based. If you can ride 400 watts, great. But if you can ride 400 watts and you can turn, Like Luke Lamperti came, loves crits. People think that he just showed up for the first time because he's on Sudal Quickstep.
I mean, he cut his teeth on crits racing for Lux growing up
Exactly.
here. Like,
He's a
I've seen
Lux
him
crit
and
dog.
Tyler. I
He was
raced
on
him.
Trinity
Yeah.
crit dog, and he's won crit nationals 3 times in a row. And he shows up and fresh off the Giro, hadn't touched his bike. Literally, he rode like twice from before he got there. So he's fresh. But he's also one of the most skilled bike riders I've ever raced with, like I've ever seen. Like, he's so good on a bike. He's not afraid. He'll run straight into you if he has to. He won't fight you for a position if you don't have to. He'll just ride around you. And his sprint, it looks so slow sometimes, but like he's got so much power. And he's just good. He can corner. He's very hyper aware. He can see a crash before it happens, like things that make you very dangerous in crits. He can ride breakaways. He can ride sprints. He's very punchy. And this dude shows up and he just manhandles the race because he's better than everybody, physically and technically. And then this dude goes for the Gambler Prem with 2 laps to go, snags it, and then wins the field sprint.
I feel like I had to explain this to people watching Tulsa this year. You don't do that. Like, you don't do that.
You don't do that.
Unusual.
And here's the thing that, like, here's the other caveat to it, right? Like, we've dominated crit racing for the past 4 or 5 years.
Yeah.
Like, I say we because I'm like Legion primarily. Now, my first 2 years, it was hard because it was me learning how to be a team rider and be in a team environment. Not like a club team, like a real like professional standard team, and how to do a job as a teammate on and off the bike.
In fixed gear, was there any sense, like when you rode for leader, was there a sense of that team camaraderie? Like, were you guys working together in that fashion?
And we started because of the concept team. And we were taking knowledge that we were receiving from Justin and Cory and applying it to the fixed gear. Like, we were doing like Fixie lead outs and stuff.
And had you ever done any team sport leading up to your time on Legion?
Basketball.
Okay.
You know, so I played a lot of basketball.
And was this just like playing out like in the neighborhood with other people? Like,
yeah, I mean, I played in high school as well.
Okay.
But also in the neighborhood. But it was just very different type of team effort. You know, it's not like pass the ball and like let me shoot. It's like
kill yourself.
I want you to kill yourself. Like, I've been in races where like Justin's like, hey, I want you to 2 laps to go. You should be passing out. Like, I want you to ride from the start to 2 laps to go. And when you pull off, I expect you to be dead. If you're not dead, you didn't ride hard enough. Because we want to keep we want to keep the race as fast as possible, so that if people attack, they aren't going to go very far because we're already riding too fast. They can only ride that fast for so long.
Yeah.
So it's welding things back together, which is going to basically promote a field sprint. But like, it took so long for me to do that and get used to that. And then when we were doing it, no one was really doing it as good as we were. And, you know, protecting the inside of the course, you know, sweeping the sprinter, all these different things. And then I had to be able to be like a 2, a 3, or a 4, which is like the 1 is the sprinter, 2 is the lead out guy, 3 is the guy in the 4, all the way up to 6. So I had to be able to alter my position based off how I feel or based off what the team felt like they needed. So like, fast forward now, everyone's caught up to that. So like, Ribble can do lead outs, Rainstorm could do lead outs. Everyone, like the top 3 or 4 teams can do what we dominated in, which is fantastic because it's raising the sport, the level of what we race at. But it also means that we have to change our tactics now. There's things we'll call like reverse lead outs. There's baiting. There's like all these different things that we try to put into fruition to be able to be dominant against these other teams. The other part of the problem with it is that the level of respect is also depleted within the race. And
what does that mean?
For example, like Formula One is everyone's racing at fucking 200 miles an hour, right? Mm-hmm. There's a level of respect to competition I'm not going to do something that's make actually kill you or kill us, right? If I cut this corner and hook you, you're going straight into the wall, you might die. I can cut this corner enough to be competitive, but to have respect for who you are and what we are doing.
And if you're not going to make it, it's your responsibility to back out of there.
Exactly.
Before you cause the incident.
Exactly. On top of that, a hierarchy respect, right? So like, let's speak in the first one. So like in the races, people don't know how to back out. People also don't know what they're doing. People don't understand that creating like contact with people isn't to like fucking run them into the barrier. Contact is primarily first let someone know that you're there. I can't see behind me. I can feel behind me. So if I'm looking forward and I can feel someone touch my hip, I know that someone's there.
Yeah.
If I'm in the field, that's fine. If I'm on the wheel and we're going into 2 laps ago, I'm shutting that door. It's your job to back out. If you don't back out and you push through and you hit a barrier and then you flick out, you crash me out and yourself out, that's not my fault. That's your fault. Like there are rules and etiquettes into the race. At the same time, the other respect level of it is if Ty Magner pulls up to me or pulls up to you and he's like, hey man, don't fucking do that. And you're like, fuck you. That's Ty Magner.
Yeah, he's got some experience.
That's the most decorated criterium racer in the race. If Kobe Bryant came up to me in the game was like, hey man, you can't do that. Hey man, all right. And if I said something back to Kobe Bryant, my team, my director, the other team are going to have a problem with it. You know, sit Josh on the bench. That's Kobe Bryant.
Yeah.
So like,
there's probably a reason behind it, and I feel like that's where the disconnect is at.
Here's the reason.
And it's for their safety.
The reason why Johnny Clark, who was on UHC, the Blue Train, right before Legion, what Legion emulates.
Yeah.
Ty Magner, US Pro Crit champion, one of the best crit racers out there. Justin Williams, Cory Williams, Robin Carpenter, Danny Summerhill, like these people that are still in races, if they're mad at you about something, it's because they see what's about to happen and they don't want to crash. You are provoking their life right now. And they're trying to educate you to make the race safer, make themselves safer, but also make the racing better. They've learned something they've learned this skill before. And if you got to Cat 1 because you're strong, but you're not technically skilled.
Yo, don't point at me when you say that, man.
You specifically.
But you're not strong, and someone with experience is trying to make you technically savvy and help you out, and you are like, I don't care what you're saying, or you're like, you're just saying that because you want to win. These fuckers can win by themselves.
Why do you think people take personal offense to constructive criticism? What is it about the egos of people that are probably, I feel like the stronger people also have bigger egos too, because they come from Cat 5 instantly.
Yeah.
And they're like, dude, I became a Cat 1 in a year. It's like, well, cool. You're strong as hell, bro. You're a pro triathlete. You're a professional mountain bike racer, whatever it is, but it's just different.
Yeah.
That overlap of like ego and constructive criticism, something about that just doesn't mesh well. What do you think that problem is? Or like,
first of it, I think it's accountability. Like if we're all in a race and you hear you like, hey man, don't do that. That's not safe. And the guy's like, fuck you. Someone should be like, don't fucking say that's Dante. She's like, he's trying to help you out.
yeah, he's right, bro. I agree.
He's right. The more people that crowd in on that person's not going to do that again. He's always going to think twice.
Yeah.
Right? That doesn't happen. People hear people talk shit, or if Ty, I say Ty because he's the most decorated person I can think of other than like Justin, right? They're very neck and neck. And if one of them says something on Instagram and was like, hey man, like I think that was a bad turn. And people are like, oh, I'm just trying to be like you. It's like, dude, and no one's being like, dude, shut up. Like he's educating you. Instead of being like, I'm trying to be like you, be like, well, what could I have done better?
Yeah.
And there's accountability and there's a level of disrespect, but I think the disrespect comes from jealousy. Because it's like, no matter how hard you train, if you're not technically skilled, you're not going to be as good as Justin or Cory or Rahsaan or Ty Magner or Kendall Ryan. Like you're not. Because you are focused on the wrong things. And the things that I've learned is because I've asked questions. I've won races this year and Rahsaan comment and I messaged him personally, like, what could I have done better?
See, so in that instance, I think this draws attention to something that's kind of important. So in that instance, you know Rahsaan, right? You're aware of Rahsaan, you're aware of his background, and you understand that what he's saying is constructive and that he's trying to help you. Say you're a new bike racer and you're a Cat 4 and there's something on the internet and you see it because you've watched all these YouTube videos from some individual that breaks down criteriums, whatever it is. And so now you think you know how to race your bike and you go in, you've had some early success in racing your bike. There comes this point where, okay, so now you post something on the internet, somebody says something constructive and it is a big name, but maybe you as a Cat 4 don't recognize it. Mm-hmm. How do you understand and tell the difference between armchair quarterbacking and somebody who has something to say that is also valid and worth your time? Because you know, I've posted shit on the internet as like a Cat 3 bike racer, and I've done some stupid shit in bike races. And like my coach lets me have it for like, you know, he tells me, and we talk through race footage, and like I learned those lessons. But I'm also super open to receiving feedback. If you watch my video and you're like, why didn't you fill that gap? Why didn't you take that corner? Why didn't you do this? I'd probably be like, damn, you know what? I bet he's right. And I would watch it again and be like, oh shit, okay. But I know who you guys are, right? And so it's, I guess it, I don't know. There's
a few things and within that. I've personally have learned that there are so many people within cycling that it's almost like, I don't want to say no one's ever wrong, but you like, just because they're not a pro doesn't mean they don't have experience. And I've met people that have never really raced before, but they're a weekend warrior and they've been like that for the past 20 years and they have some knowledge to share. And just because someone doesn't have a pro jersey on or they're fucking look old as dirt, I've learned that like someone usually always has something to offer. If it's constructive first, I'm more likely to receive it than if it's like, prime example, I think I told you so before, like we did the Fiesta Island. Like that, then the Lux kids were there.
Yeah, with like the whole school.
Oh, that was, they had their sag wagon and murdered us. Yeah, I remember that night.
We were going into the sprint and this kid, like the sweeping downhill part, he's underneath me, red flag, there's dirt, and he's headbutting me. So I'm initially like, okay, like the options pulsed up. Do I crash him? Do I back out? Do I I'm like figuring out what to do. It's not that big of a deal to me. My initial first response is to be like, what the fuck is wrong with this kid? But then I'm also like, I should teach him something. Sprint's not that big, not important to me. I back out of the sprint.
Yeah.
I open up, I let him go, he sprints. And I go up to him, and I'm like, hey man, that was unnecessary. He's like, hey man, like chill. I'm like, no, like I'm not being a dick.
Yeah, I'm not mad at you.
I'm trying to help you out. I'm like, you could have, we're going into this left-hand turn. Your bars are in front of me. You want to create space instead of headbutting me, just flick right. If you flick, I have to flick as well. That gives you space. The gap opens up, right? Plus your bars are in front of me. You dictate where I want to go. This isn't HTC, bro. You don't have to headbutt fucking helmets down over your face. Like you're impeding your vision. There's no need for it. Next time, just do that. And fast forward, I saw him a year later at Armed Forces last year. And he's like, hey man, I was that kid back in Lux. Like when I left, I thought about what you said and I realized that you were right. And I appreciate it, you know, that you could have went it the other way around, which people do. They get scared. They don't like what's happening. And their initial response is to like fucking scold you. You fucking blah, 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 blah. Now that person either gonna be like, I'm never coming back here again, or fuck you. So if you ever say anything to me, I don't care. Or you can be like, hey man, you did this wrong. Here's how you can do better, right? I'm not a pro, but I have experience. And that person is more likely to be receptive and also like, oh, there are nice people in this fucking sport, right? And I told him like, hey man, all I care about is that I taught you something, pass it on. Like there is no like Johnny Brown was my teammate, and he raced in Europe. He's the youngest U.S. pro champion. He has more experience than me in other areas, and he's younger than me. So, like, it's hard to decipher where you can get who you can get the knowledge from. But I think when you come into cycling, especially on group rides and social, you should always be receptive to criticism. And if people are being like, you're a dickhead, you're not doing that right, fuck you, right? Like, you're not even trying to teach me, you're trying to scold me. But if someone comes to you like, you almost fucking crashed me, you need to be able to do this, this, and this. All right, thank you. You're telling me with a little more emotion, but also, like, people are soft, bro. Like, when I got into it, I feel like I got the tail end of it of like, if you do that again, I'm going to crash you. I'm like, oh shit, all right, well, I'm not going to do it again, but what can I do better? You need to ride in this side. We're going this way. You're going to get pinched. Or like, you need to back out. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, don't be a wimp about it. Like not everyone's going to go, hey, but it's okay.
I mean, you're in a sport doing 30-something miles an hour, shoulder to shoulder with 100 other dudes. You kind of can't be soft.
You can't, right?
Like, if you're soft, bro, like, what are you even doing there?
But like, it all goes back to like, and here's the other thing too. The pros, the guys that are seasoned, these vets I've named, they want to give information. Johnny Clark wants you to ask him a question.
It just improves the sport.
Yeah, but the thing is, if you don't take the time to come up and ask them a question, but then you get into the race and act like you know more than them, they will not give you respect because you're not giving it to them. So when they run into you or they shut the door on you and you're like, oh, they're riding like assholes. And it's like, what do you expect? You're not giving me the respect that I deserve as a vet, but you're expecting me to respect you and you haven't done anything? That doesn't make any sense at all. And that the sport, there's people that come in that demand respect, don't deserve it, but don't respect the veterans in the game that do deserve it. And then they want to get mad when the vets don't give them respect back. And it's just like, it's so backwards. And then, we've had talks lately within our organization on like creating this hierarchy of respect from within. If the vets say something, you listen. Have your pen out and your paper, take notes, ask questions, do what they say. And then when you can move into that, it trickles down. But also, if someone from outside the organization is not giving the veterans respect, it is your job to maintain that respect from the outside, from within, but onto the outside. Mm-hmm. So if y'all come in and, or are around me and you're giving me shit that I'm trying to give you criticism for, then the other riders within my organization be like, dude, like, do you know who the hell you're talking to? Do you know who he's learned this information from? So
every other sport, you look at the NFL, you look at the NBA, you look at MLB. If you have like a veteran player there, right? Best quarterback in the NFL at the time. When you come in as a second string quarterback, right? You're training underneath one of the better, you're training underneath a veteran, right? Yeah. And so there's this easy succession plan that people have, and I think it's understood, and people value that. And in almost every other sport, exactly. Why do you think we miss that in cycling? What is it that separation? Why does that exist? I
don't think we have really any infrastructure to really uphold it. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know what the Pro Tour life is like, right? I don't know how the hierarchy is, but I'm pretty sure they have some form of hierarchy.
It
right?
seems like it, even watching things like Unchained.
Yeah, right? Like Cav, right? Mm-hmm. Or like Miko Morkov. Like, those are veterans in the game, right? And if, for example, like French guy on Quick Step, world champion,
Alaphilippe.
Mm-hmm. He's a vet. Oh, right? Yeah. When Luke's in a race with him, I guarantee you Luke is going to ask questions, or if Lulu says something, Luke is like, yeah, no problem. No questions asked. But another neo pro that's telling Luke to do something, Luke will probably still do it, but he's probably not going to be as receptive as Alaphilippe or as the other veteran riders.
His
right?
own internal teammates, basically, that are vets. Yeah.
And then when Luke's in the race with Cav and Cav pulls up and he's gonna probably get out the way. It's Cavendish. Cavendish has more value to me in front of me than behind me. And people don't think about that either, right? They're like, oh no, I'm not gonna let you in. You're gonna leave Justin behind you? I
don't want that. He's gonna come around me.
In front of me. He's the best navigator. He's a smooth ride. It's hard to retain his wheel because everyone else wants it. But if he's coming in, let him in. People do that for people in other sports as well. So it's like, I don't think cycling and specifically criterium racing, because there's a lot of missing infrastructure in criterium racing, and we desperately need it. Like, people need to be, if you crash somebody out unintentionally, you still need to be suspended. You need for a race or two, or you need to have some form of a penalty. Like, that's how it be. If you deviate from your line, you should be docked points, or you should be suspended for a race. Like, there is no accountability. Like, the amount of crashes that happen in crits that no one gets suspended for, and the amount of crashes that happen in crits and then people find it okay to just post about and be insensitive to, like, if they're okay or not, like, is wild to me. And it's like, no one's doing anything, so everyone thinks that everything is okay. The USA Cyclist not saying anything. So if no one's getting suspended, if no one's getting held accountable for racing a type of way or saying a type of thing or not respecting others, then it's just going to continue to be the wild, wild west, which is what it's been. And we've been in a weird space because we're trying to be the leaders in our spaces, but then no one's really receptive to it. And like, oh, you guys are just saying that because you're losing. Like, no, it's because we're trying to change the sport. And you guys forget that we dominated for 6 years, and we still can. If Justin's fit, he can hop into any crate in America by himself and win. So it's like, same with Cory. So it's like...
So you think it's like internal teams with veteran status passing that on to the younger guys in the race? Would that help things?
I think that would help, but I think it should start from the organization from above, right? Like, here are things that
it has to start with USAC, right?
Yeah, here's the things that I feel like would be game changers in crits. First, there needs to be some form of penalty for actions, right? There needs to be a rule book that we follow at every race. Every sport has a rule book that's in place at every single fucking event, right? So deviation of lines, right, within reason. People, like, there's a fine line when sprinting, right? But deviation from lines, causing a crash, even if it's unintentional. Yeah. If you unintentionally lap wheels and you crash out half the field, you need to have some form of penalty, because it's going to make you think more about the actions that you're doing, right? If you were reaching back and you're like, oh, grabbing food, and you're in the middle of the field and you cross wheels, you might think now, oh, well, I'm going to go to the outside
right
so that I can do that, or wait for the right time so I don't have to get docked penalty or whatever the case may be. There needs to be some form of, like, you're being held accountable for your actions, because at the end of the day, also, we're all trying to go home to our families and our parents and our jobs. So it's like, that should be a thing. I don't think riders in the pro field should be allowed to enter races individually. I think that it should only be team riders.
No unattached riders.
No unattached riders. Like, if we're doing like Tulsa Tough, should be strictly team races. Like Redlands, you got to have 6 riders. Let's say max 6, minimum 4, but you need to have a team, right? Having these 1s and 2s, I think, changes the dynamic of racing, but also it also can kind of make it a little bit unsafe. And on top of that, we shouldn't have more than 100 people in the race. I think that there should be about 80 people in the race. Let's say whatever that adds up to in teams of 6. And then there should be 2 or 3 reserve spots for local teams. So if we're in Tulsa, 3 teams of Tulsa can enter that race. If we're in Ohio, 3 teams of Ohio, kind of like a wild card. And like in the tour, there's always a wild card. It's usually French teams.
That's for P1, right? And you still have your 1-2 racing.
Yeah, you still have your 1-2 races and everything too.
So that way people aren't getting necessarily, they don't have the right to race, right? They still get to race. It's just that they don't get to race the P1 field.
Yeah.
Because if you're a pro, you're on a team.
So basically, what it
Usually.
would, yeah, you're on the team, but it also makes getting there more of a reward and more of something like to obtain than like I can just hop into any pro field race that I want to hop into because I can. That's not how it works, right? Like I can't hop into an NBA game. Like I have to
imagine just
work
pick a ball
so hard to get there. So now I got to be good, but I be good enough to sign on the team.
Yeah, you have to be drafted by that team.
Exactly. And then I got to make the roster for that race, right? So the reward is so much more higher. And then pay shouldn't be more than 10 deep. People shouldn't be sprinting for 20th place to make $100. Like it's dumb to me. No one really cares about anything less than top 10 anyways. And the races and bike races and car races, it's top 10. That's it. If you got 14th, good for you. But that's not important.
You
Also,
ended up
like-
in the picture, you know? You ended up in the picture.
Yeah.
The
But,
freaking prize purse by the time you get to 12 is like, dude, what, $20? Stop.
And that's the other thing too. If it's top 10, it becomes more top 10 heavy.
Yeah.
So the reward of getting 10th place is way higher than it would be if the pay was top 20 and it goes 1,800, 750, 500, and then when you get past 10th, it's like 100, 100, 100, 150, 50, 50, 50. Like no one cares about that. So like
Move it all up.
Yeah, move it all up and just do top 10.
And if it's team based, now it's distributed amongst the team. So so those dudes are not even incentivized.
Exactly.
Because they already dropped their sprinter off. He's the guy that's supposed to be putting himself in the top 10.
Exactly.
Your team goes home with $700 because your guy did the thing. You don't need to mop up the $50.
Exactly. And then reducing the amount of the field sizes makes it safer. Like I did a Tulsa once, we had 170 people in the field. That is outlandish. That's crazy.
That's big.
Like we don't need more than 100 people in the race. These are already tight technical races sometimes anyways too. Like reducing the amount of the people in the pro field, but then increasing the amount that are in the 1-2 fields, which a lot of the riders should be in anyways. And here's a bigger point to this. I did the 1-2 race at Tulsa because we had so many fucking guys to race the one race, which is fine. And I hadn't done it since 2019 when I raced the 1-2 race. And I realized how much better I am than everybody else. But
No, dude, people were blowing
No.
up the chat too, like
But-
Dante sandbagging.
dude, technically skill, I was so much better. And
That's like when you race down from a pro 1 through 3 race, you've been racing them all year, and then you go race like a 3-4 race, you're just like, whoa.
yeah. And I'm like, dude, and half these guys wanted to be in the pro 1 field, but they didn't it was too full. I mean, you guys don't need to be there. And there were guys in the pro 1 field that I felt should be racing the like if you want to win something, go win this. And this is what like, you know, I was bummed out that I didn't get the race Tulsa. I'm like, dude, I'm fucking good this year. Justin's like, go win Tulsa 1-2 race, and then I'll put you in a race. All right, cool. Easy money. All right. And it wasn't an easy race, but like it was easier than when I won it the first time. And I used my skills more than I used my fitness, my power, right? And it made me realize how important this race is. If you guys can't win the biggest race in the country in the category 1-2 field, you have no business being in the Pro 1 race. And it should be more like, and that race, the 1-2 races should be more appreciated. And I'm like, I was very thankful to do it because I'm like, oh, like it showed me that I am really good. I'm technically really good. And I do have a lot of technical skills. There's a step up fitness-wise that is required in the pro field, but my technical skills do transfer over very, very well. And so I'm like, having the pro field and having the 1-2 field, the 1-2 field's on the only step up. And you're going to have to be so much better to be in the 1-2 field, but also to be promoted or to be able to make a team to race the pro field. And it's going to make the steps to get into this level so much better. and more of a reward. I hate being in racing. Like, oh, I'll be racing with you next year. And I'm like, I hope not.
I mean, if you're not mopping up NCAA football, you're not going to be in the NFL draft class. You know what I mean? There's a top even small percentage of that group that then goes on to the NFL. It's like people need to be okay with that in cycling too.
And that's what like it took a while for me to comprehend because of just also like I've had a flawed view of sports cycling because of criterium racing too. I butted heads a lot with like Justin and Cory. I'm like, I want to race. Why are you racing? Like, you haven't done shit. And I'm like, well, that's kind of harsh. But they're like, but you haven't. So you want me to justify putting you here because you're my boy or because you feel like you deserve it. We haven't done anything.
Why did you feel like you deserved it at that time?
I felt like I put in work. Okay. I'm training a lot. I'm putting in work. I'm doing lead outs. Like I should be able to do it. But
so why doesn't that translate to you deserve a spot?
It does, but if it in that time frame, if it came between me or Tyler Williams, it's like Tyler Williams can sprint and he can lead out and ride breakaways.
He's adding something very specific to the team dynamic.
Exactly. So it's like it's not that you're not good. It's just like this. You want me to justify putting you over this person. If you are winning every single race you set foot in and you are just fucking flying this year, it's like, it's a different fail-safe, right? It's like, all right, well, I'm working for Cory to sprint, but also if Cory doesn't win, Cory can rely that I can seal the deal, right? So it's like...
Yeah, your box of tricks is full of a bunch of different things, and they've seen you put those things on display.
Also, me practicing winning more has a much more benefit too from when I do get put into those races. I've won 5 races this year. Like, that's more races that I've won in the past probably 4 years in 1 year. So it's like, and it's gotten better. Like last year, I think I won 2 races, and the year before that, I won 1. So it's like, you know, I won a few races this year, including Tulsa, the overall, and my confidence is at all new high. Also, like, I can do this shit. Then it's like reassuring to them. It's like, all right, well, if he keeps up on this, we put him in to seal the deal. Like, he should be able to do it, right? Versus before, it's just like, I've been training all year and you guys haven't given me an opportunity when. And it's like, it sounds entitled.
Why do you think you're winning now for so much more than you did in the past years?
I was talking to Justin about this, and for once, like, actually sticking to like training. Like, I haven't trained this winter. I didn't train that much since 2020 before the world crashed. And so, like, I had a really good off season. You know, I was training in Europe a little bit. I was training in Miami a little bit. I was training here, and I just, like, stuck to it. And I just locked in because, like, I had a really bad 2 years, and my mental state from that was just like, I'm not good enough. And I almost just, like, thinking about retiring.
Bad years, like, results-wise?
Results-wise. Okay. And, like, I wasn't training. Like, I was still heavy. I was eating when I wanted. I was like, oh, I'll do the workout tomorrow, maybe. And I was just half-assing. So
why do you think you're half-assing?
I don't really know. I just, like, I was in a weird mental state for sure as well. And then, like, I was...
Was it like uncommitted, not interested? What's the mental?
I was uncommitted, and I wasn't really sure about, like, what I was doing. And, like, something good had to happen for me to, like, do good on the bike for training for that block. And if something bad happened, it was just all downhill. So it wasn't consistent. So I'm putting in 15%, and I was only getting 15% out. And then being mad at myself that I'm not getting enough more out, and then going down more of a deeper spiral. So I was like, all right, I'm going to, like, really go in this year and just, like, give it, like, a real shot, swap the coaches, start working with Adam Mills, and started training a lot and really giving it a go. I had a nice holiday in Europe, in London. And so from that point on, I was just, like, locked in. And then my mental state was a little bit better on the bike and in life. And then...
How'd you make that shift? Was there a conscious effort there? Or was it
conscious effort? And like self-acknowledgement of being like, you haven't been putting in effort in your life. So if you want good effort in, you got to put good effort out. And when I realized that, and I really started training, when I started racing, I realized that now it was a shift in mindset of how I'm racing. When I was in the team, I was doing work. I was working, doing lead outs. I was working for Justin, I was working for Cory when I was in Legion. And then, so now I'm shifting my mindset to winning. So it's like how I exit the corner, how I run at the wheel, how I start my sprint, what gear I'm in, my positioning, all these different things and dynamics that started to really shift in my mindset that I'm shifting to be a winner and be like an actual sprinter. And when I started doing that, results started getting better. Like I think I won that first CBR. I went to Valley of the Sun. I messed up the sprint. I got 4th in the crit, which I was very mad about. I should have won that race. I won Costa Mesa, won Tulsa. I think I won another CBR, or I won a few races, but like it started to like shift my mindset. Like I am good enough. And so now I'm like, and then the confidence is going up too. So now I'm like, all right, cool. Like I'm going to build on this. Like next year comes about, like there's going to be no question of how good I am. And I don't need also the validation anymore of like anyone else telling me that I'm good. Like, you know.
Did you need external validation before?
Yeah, for sure.
Who from, do you think?
From...
Was it the internet? I mean, the internet's big these
internet
days.
From like within the team. Like I felt like I got value through others, not through myself. And that was a really big fuck up. And when I wasn't, it put me in this really deep hole that my friends would see, that like my family would see, that like even like my performance showed. And now I'm like I don't need it. Like I know that I'm good. Like I know I'm talented. I'm not the best career racer in the world, but I'm good, you know, and I know what I'm good at. And I'm also like, my value on like others, that their value is just racing bikes. My value is so much more than that. Like I am just as impactful off the bike, if not more. So it's like my interaction with people, how I inspire, how I give knowledge, how I interact, like these things are so valuable. And
Was that purposeful, or has that naturally just come with time? Because you said young, like you really engaged in that social interaction when you were younger in the Fixie scene and everything. And so over time, you've developed this sense of community. Online, you built a presence. So now being valuable off the bike and spreading that community and doing all those things, was that natural for you, or did that progress in some way? How'd you find your interest level in that? What was
It progressed. There was one interaction that like really sparked it. It was redoing the Wolfpack Hustle Civic Center crit. This is probably 2015, maybe. I can probably find the picture on Instagram. But there's this kid, like I'm standing at with Mike Bowers, who's the commentator at the time, and talking to him before the race even gets started. And as I'm walking away, there's this kid, and he's like, oh my God, it's you. And I'm like, oh God. Everyone always confused me and Alonzo. I don't know, we're only 2 black people in there all the time. So everyone would like look at me like, Alonzo tall. And I'm like, nope, Dante. And then they used to do it with Justin all the time. Like, real quick, Justin won Boise, and we were at Rafa, and he wasn't there. And he came up to some guy, came up to me like, oh, Justin, hey. And I'm like, What's up, man? And he was like, how's Boise? I was like, dude, it was great. I won the race. I was just like, super,
I was sick.
It was so good. It's like, can I get a picture, Justin? Like, you damn right you can get a picture. Make sure you tag me.
Yeah.
So like, this kid comes up, and I'm thinking he thinks I'm Alonzo. And he's like, can I get a picture? I'm like, yeah, man, of course. And that's when I first started taking a picture with people. And then he has his arm around me, and I can feel his arm shaking. I'm like, this dude's kind of nervous. He's like, are you racing later? I'm like, yeah, I'll be racing. You know, you gonna watch? He's like, yeah, I'm gonna watch. I'm like, all right, cool. Like, I'll see you around. So then I go back to the tent, and he's like, Dante. And I was like, oh shit, he didn't know it was me. And he's like, yo, I have one more question. I'm like, yeah, what's up? He's like, can you sign my bag? I'm like, that's weird. I'm like, yeah. Mine is this like 12-year-old little black kid, never seen before in my life. I'm like, yeah, all right. And I'm like, half of his bag. And I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I'm like, all right, I just like, love Dante, sign my name, and never saw the kid again. But it like stuck with me. I had a good race. I think I got like 5th in the road crit, and I got like 12th in the fixed gear crit that evening. So I was hyped. Go home, And then I post a picture, someone Instagram's like, can you follow me back? I'm like, oh, I fucking hate when people do this shit. I'm like, so annoying. Who is this little cunt? Fucking press it. And I'm like, oh, it's the kid. And he posted a picture that we took together. I'm like, this is so cool. So I follow him and I like the picture. He screenshots it and he's like, he liked the picture and followed me. And I'm like, this is so crazy to me. Right? But it was the first time I realized what kind of impact I can have on people, and not just people, but like people from my demographic. And
this kid potentially goes out, jumps on a bike, races a bike. You growing up, you said you avoided a lot of that shit that was going on outside of your area, like by dipping out on your bike.
Yeah.
This kid now gets on his bike. Who knows, right?
Yeah.
But he gets on his bike, dips out for 8 hours a day, avoids that same bullshit.
Same bullshit. But his life could have completely changed for that interaction. He could be in aerospace right now. He could be doing anything, but that probably changed his whole mindset of life and wherever he is. And for me, it showed that like what I'm doing is helping or changing people's lives, whether it's for that moment or for the rest of their life. And that went on to be the second thing that struck to me was the Germany thing, when they were like, oh, we know who you are, like all the way from Germany. And then like from that, when social media started to really take off, and like when I got to Legion, people were constantly messaging me like how I've changed their life and how like I ride bikes because of you. Like it's cool to see Black people on bikes, like all this stuff. And it was nice for me to have my own lens outside of like the Williams brothers, you know, because like I'm like their little brother and I'm under their wing and they're the top of the sport, but I'm like making my own path. And so like when I realized how influential my presence can be, my words, my time, my energy, it made me really push more into it. And I've done a lot of work with Canyon, and like we did this like video on me, and it was like so many people messaged me about it, like how like it was inspiring and it was influential. So it's like I feed into it and I think a lot more about it when I'm riding my bike. I'm like I could race for another 5 years happily, but I'm not gonna always be able to. So it's like it makes you want to do it more now. Hence, like this past off season, like feed into it so much more, because it's like even just me showing up to a race has so much impact, you know, and it allows me to be this influential person and broaden my voice and tap in, connect with so many more people. And when I was just in Harlem, and that showed me that, because sometimes I forget. I'm like, I'm not getting good results, or I'm losing partnerships with certain people. And I'm like, oh, like sometimes I forget why I'm doing this. And I was in Harlem, and like Harlem Skyscraper was a dope race. It's like there's Blacks, Dominicans, Jamaicans, everyone's there at this bike race, and it's super sick. And as soon as I pulled up, everyone's just like, yo, like, I'm so glad you're here. Hey man, you inspired me. You changed my life. Like all these different people are coming up, pictures, autographs, messages, everything. And I'm like, this is why I do it. And I was talking to our photographer, Kit Carson. And I was like, that I needed them. I'm so glad I came here. Because I forget sometimes. I get so caught up in racing that it's like, it's not about the racing. It's about the journey and the story that I have. Like I'm from this kid that grew up in the hood, that's been exposed to so much shit and so much chaos, that found an avenue through riding bikes, that has traveled the world. I've met some of the biggest professionals. I've been on magazines. I've been in magazines. I've done documentaries and photos. I've done everything. I've written for all the big brands. And like, this is why it's so valuable, because like someone, in my opinion, can relate to my story more than they can relate to Justin's story. You know, it's like, yes, we come from the same background, but he's the best in the fucking sport. It's like you can only relate to Kobe so much, right?
Yeah.
You can only relate to LeBron so much. Like, okay, cool, we both grew up in the slums, but like you broke every record known to man. Like I haven't broken anything, you know? But the journey through trial and error, the journey through getting to this space and the rockiness to it is, in my opinion, so much more relatable. So like when I see people that are on the same path in a different space, I'm like, I feel that. Like I relate to that. And I think most people can do that because I'm not the best crit racer. I don't win a lot. You know, I win some things. I'm not sponsored by Red Bull or the face of a brand, but like
Justin.
If you had never, say you had never discovered bike racing, say you had never even just thrown your leg over like a fixed gear bike, what do you think the trajectory of your life looks like otherwise?
I don't think it would be too good, man. Like
No?
I always kind of steered clear of like negative things, gangs, drugs. But like I kind of had curiosities, but I was distracted a bit by sports, martial arts, skateboarding, basketball, cycling. But like, I think if I didn't find bikes when I did, I think it would have been kind of bad. Because like at the time that I found bikes, a lot of shit was going down. Like my friends, like I've lost 1 or 2 friends every year for like the next like 5 years, and even within fixed gear stuff. And I don't think fixed gear necessarily saved me. I think it's when I transitioned from it that really pulled me out. Because in the fixed gear, there was still people that were like gang banging it from the hood that were still like on bikes because it's just like it's cool. It's like riding BMX bikes. It's like it's just cool, right? Yeah. And you don't gotta wear spandex when you do it. And we would go like do rides at night on the bike path, go to 7-Eleven, get a bunch of food, and everyone's like smoking weed and drinking and having a good time, you know, and I'm just there like hanging out with all the boys. But I thought about this a few times, but like the things that I was exposed to, the people that were around me in some of these spaces, I think could have definitely put me in the wrong space. And I think my mindset would have been very limiting because when I went to Red Hook, New York, it changed my perspective on what's possible and where I could actually go. Like to me, going to New York was like going to Europe. I'm never going to get there. I would love to, but I'm never going to get there, right? And sometimes you're confined to where you grew up in your space, and it's like even Beverly Hills was like I probably can't even get through the gate. I thought there was a gate there. I'm like I can't even get through the gate. So like traveling in bikes broadened my perspective on life as a whole. And it made me be like, how much further can I go? How much further can I go? What can I do here? Before then, I was just riding bikes, you know, hanging out, doing dumb shit that I shouldn't be doing.
Were there ever instances when you were like first getting into bikes where people tried to deter you from it, put pressure on you to do something else?
Oh yeah, like I was really close to a lot of like gang members and like little cliques and going to a lot of like underground parties. Just lots of drugs, like ecstasy, cocaine, weed, like, you know, a bunch of wild stuff. And like I had just done some things in my day, but I was kind of stern not doing any of the hard stuff because I'm like, I don't want to be like a crack addict. And like,
where did that influence come from for you to be like, nah, man, like,
because I have family members that are like drug addicts, alcoholics, and
so you saw the negative impacts of that and decided that you didn't want to mimic that versus maybe somebody positively reinforcing.
But there was still curiosity. Like I don't want to do it, but I'm like, but I wonder, like, but if maybe I'm strong enough to like pull myself away from it,
dabble and dip.
Exactly. Yeah. But I had distractions to not even go fully into it, and I think that if I didn't, it would have been very difficult. I think if I didn't also meet the brothers, I probably wouldn't have been cycling that long. Because I talked to people like CJ Williams was telling me, and I was like, man, I wish I started earlier. And he was like, I don't know if you do though. I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, I know a lot of guys that started earlier and they didn't make it that far. They were so jaded from the sport. Because the sport, you gotta think before you came into it was worse than what it was when you came into it.
That's rough.
You know? So it's like, you probably wouldn't have lasted that long. I was like, that's a good point. And he's like, but I'm also like, if there wasn't any black people in cycling, like, yeah, I probably for sure would have done it for maybe a few years. I'm like, this is kind of whack. But the fact that they were doing it and they're saying, like, fuck it to everybody else. We're the best and we know we're the best. We're going to keep pushing. And they push. It's pretty crazy to see. And it's like something that I've always kind of like chased within. You know, like Justin's a Red Bull athlete, which is crazy. Like it's actually really crazy when you think about it. Cory's endorsed by GoPro. They're both endorsed by Viore. Cory endorsed by Tag Heuer.
That's tough.
That's pretty hype.
It's gangster, bro.
Yeah.
They sent him this one watch that was like,
Hey, yo, Timex, hit me up.
bro, they're in this space that, like, I was telling someone this the other day. If Lance Armstrong didn't get caught, it would have changed how he was the first influencer.
Yeah.
He had Nike. He had like all these big endorsement deals in cycling that no one else was doing. If he didn't get caught, he fucked it up for everybody. If
God
he didn't get
damn it,
caught,
Lance.
if he didn't get caught or didn't like fuck up, it would have opened the door for American cycling as a whole. And Justin and Cory, in my personal opinion, are the first ones since Lance that I can think of that are in that space of endorsement deals in bike racing in the US.
How do you go
I
ahead?
feel like the other thing that like is the quiet part is that they're cool. Like,
And they're cool.
like I always struggled
Cycling.
this where it's like Romain Bardet is an incredible athlete. He's not cool. You know, it's like these guys who are out in the tour, they're not relatable at all. And I think one of the things that was so powerful, and this is like, I grew up at a time and I was racing at a time where endo concept was cool.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whatever endo did was what was cool.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the big impacts that Justin and Cory have had on the sport is they have brought a level of cool into it that
Yeah.
I don't see anywhere else, you know?
And here's the thing too, is like European cycling has such a tight vice grip on anything. And they don't do it for the money. They do it for the love of the sport, which is perfectly fine. But you have people like Vanderpool, who's endorsed by Lamborghini, and he's pulling up to cyclocross races on an Aventador and Louis bags with his girl. And people are like, you shouldn't do that.
Yeah, they're hating
Why
on
are you
it.
flaunting your money?
Yeah. Look at
But
F1
that's
drivers, bro.
Yeah.
Look at Lewis.
But then also they want to put salary caps on in the pro tour. They're not making any money. Like they're making $5 million a year. LeBron makes almost $60 million a year.
He has
So it's
like
like
$200,000 a second he's on the court or something like that, bro.
So it's like they want to maintain, like, you're doing it for the money, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. But the cycling has the potential to create so much more growth, right? I think the fact that he likes to rock Louis with his girl and that's the most gangster shit I've ever seen. Like if like we showed up to they showed team camping with a Lamborghini, that's tight. But there is no personality individually. There isn't any room for growth and to be cool and to bring in more money. And that's what's dope about the brothers. Like, they aren't going to change for anyone. They like to do dope shit, and they like to bring it into their space that they love. We still have the love for the sport, but we also have personality. Peter Sagan was the coolest thing in cycling. He's corny as hell. Like, he was the coolest thing in cycling. And he was just being himself, doing wheelies, fucking grabbing podium girls' ass, and like hair's all luscious, dumbass tattoos. But that's just him.
Yeah.
And the world loved him because he had a personality and wasn't afraid to show it. Tom Pidcock has a personality. Like people don't really see it, but also like Jasper and Matthew have personality.
Yeah.
They're a little more stern, but like they have some personality. So it's like,
It's also culture based too, because look at those two guys. They're from a different culture, right? So they're doing cool shit in their culture, right?
and that's why, like, within the States, Justin having endorsement deals and me having endorsement deals and all of us in our space building endorsements and then showing that this is a profitable like Criterium Racing could be worth billions, bro. Like it fits our demographic, our US market perfectly. There's not much to fucking understand. It's a NASCAR race.
Yeah.
It's simple.
Yeah.
So it's like it fits us so perfectly, and like we have the opportunity to create something where like you can be signed to the Miami Blazers on a 4-year, $4 million contract, or not that for a 16 million dollar contract, right? To start, right? And then like Justin is signed to a $35 million a year contract because he's a vet. He has a max like there's so much opportunity, and then like we'll have signed by Nike or by Purple Beds or whatever it is. Like there is opportunity for that.
So what's the barrier?
Well, that's man.
I mean, we got time, bro.
If Dante had that answer, I feel like he probably.
So I feel like a couple things here. I think socials have been a huge proponent of money coming into the sport, because now you can have individuals on teams that have personality and they can express themselves to an audience much larger than crit racing would have had otherwise. Mm-hmm. Because if 28 people are watching a certain live stream, right, it's like, is there reach there? But if somebody has 100,000, 200,000 Instagram followers and puts out a 30-second reel and posts photos of them in their own style and things like that, and they're associated with crit racing, now 2,000 people tune into the live stream. Yeah. It's all roads lead to Rome, right? Yeah. So what do you think the barrier is? What's the missing piece then?
There's a few missing pieces, man. Like, first, it starts with the races, right? Everyone's in their own game, right? They don't care about Tulsa. I don't say Tulsa because he's actually a really cool person. Let's say like Boise doesn't give a shit about Manhattan Beach. Manhattan Beach doesn't give a shit about Redlands. Redlands doesn't give a shit about whatever. They're like, this is our race. We're not changing for nobody. We're not working with nobody. Like, we make our $25,000 a year, whatever it is, right? What's the one thing that every other sport has as soon as the season starts?
Calendar.
A fucking calendar.
Yeah.
We don't have a calendar. Nothing. So I can't pitch a company on a race league or a race team when I don't have a calendar. Well, when's the race start? Well, this last year it was on the 13th, so this year it might be on the 14th because, every year we can't do that, right? So first we need a fucking calendar. And there's many ways to go about it, but if all the let's say there's 10 races, right? 10 races, we don't need more than 10 or 20 races for a league calendar. So there's 10 races, 15 races, everyone's on the same page, right? You can still have your Cat 5, Masters, all these other things that you make money off of, right? But we need to build a show. So let's build a show. Let's get 7 of the best Criterium teams in the country, right? The best. And then you invite 5 of the best European teams in the world or in Europe. And then you leave some space for, like I said, the local teams, right? Mm-hmm. All those teams need to commit to the show, those 10 to 12 races every single year, right? Within that, you do a live stream for just those 2 hours, 2-3 hours for the pro men and the pro women. That is so much cheaper than doing a live stream for the Cat 5 rate. It also comes back to the value and the reward. Cat 5s don't need to be streamed. The 3s don't need to be streamed. The 1-2s don't need to be streamed.
Also, you're not there yet, dude. It's like you said earlier, don't be entitled. It's cool so your family can watch, but get there.
Exactly. In basketball, it's fucking G League and the NBA that are on TV, and the college, which is they're pro. So it's like only stream these events, right? You stream these events, but you need to also invest collectively. Everyone, you put in $10,000 and spend $100,000 for the year to have a streaming service for 10 fucking events on PBS. Like, it's not super complicated, but everyone is trying to take a piece of the pie. Everyone wants to make money, but they're not thinking about the long game. They're thinking about tomorrow, which is fair, right? So there needs to be a calendar. There needs to be a collectedness. It needs to be an invite-only event these are the teams that are in this league. These are the teams that are in this series, right? No one else can get in, right? Then you need to be able to, it's the team's responsibility, but to build a community and around your team. You need to make money, right? So Legion of Los Angeles is a profitable organization. Miami Blazers is a profitable organization. We can put shirts up. People are going to buy shirts. If the Lakers came to San Diego, guess what? People are going to buy the San Diego Laker jerseys. Yeah. Right. So it's like you need to build ways to franchise your organization, right? And there's ways to do that. Hey, we're part of this league. Give us some money. Or what do? Well, we're part of this race league that does 10 to 12 races a year. There's a $500,000 prize purse. We get 20 to 30,000 people of viewership on the ground, plus another, let's say, 500,000 viewers over the course of the whole fucking series, right? You can advertise on the ground at the race, on the barriers. You can advertise on the jersey. We can do ads. We just all these different things we can bring into, right?
So many dudes got GoPros running now. You can live stream from the GoPro, have POV stuff.
Like there's many different ways to go about it. But like it starts with the races, then it's having a tight knit on the team. Then it's like funneling the money to where it is important, right? If I tell you your whole team can come to my race, right? Your entries are good, right? But you need to commit to not only my race, but to the other 10 races, right? Or let's say there's a buy-in of like $5,000 or whatever, but you're in every single fucking race, right? You're good. Tent space, free. Entry, free.
That's what I was going to say. Tent space is a crazy thing for a team to have to pay for, like especially if like your team is invited to the thing, dude. Have your expo like team pit area poppin'. All those teams get the same exact setups. Like they all bring their tents. Everybody's blasting their own music, hanging out, and then you open that area up.
Yeah.
Pre-race, whatever, to have people come through, hang out with the team, watch dudes sit on their trainers, do their thing.
It's pretty crazy to charge for tent space when like you're making money because of me.
And you charge brands to come into the expo space.
Exactly.
Just like all the expos, dude.
Yeah, for sure.
My sponsors alone, or like our team sponsors are like, yeah, we'll come out to a race.
Yeah.
But like they're not going to pay for an annual tent space like we do as a team to come to this series where you're going to get couple hundred people.
Like CBR charging for 10 spaces is
diabolical.
It's diabolical.
It's crazy, man.
Like first of all,
especially if we have 6 dudes at every single race for the whole 6 race series.
They even charge from parking.
Yeah.
First of all, the race is $1,500 top 20 or whatever.
And we got to drive from San Diego. We got gas money. Yeah. We got, dude, and we paid reg for 2 races. Not only that,
registration for a local race is $75. Then you want to charge me tent space. Then you want to charge me VIP parking. A bike. I don't need fucking VIP parking. Then you want to give me $300 for risking my life. And like, bro, like, come on. But like,
I've always wondered and this is especially with local races. Like I know I've done some of the stuff. I know exactly how expensive permitting is.
Yeah, it's not easy.
We
understand that.
And I'm going to jab at CBR. Jeff has me blocked anyway. So
I don't fucking care.
But I'm like, dude, where does this money go? He has 12 sold out races. Yeah. And if you win the pro race, you get $500.
You know what he does though, right?
If there's 6 dudes racing, that's the $500.
No, but think about it. Races shouldn't be more than like $50 at this point in time in the age. $50, I'm cool with that, right? 45 pre-reg, 50 day of.
Yeah, you gotta pay to play,
right? When I first started doing Pro 1 2, I think it was 30 to $35, right? So he charges $60 or say $70 or $75 pre-reg day of, right? For him, it's a fail-safe. If I charge $75 and I only get 20 people, I'm still up, right? But if I charge $75 and I get 100 people, and then if you've done the pro race, it's like, oh, well, you know, I'm going to throw in an extra $1,000 because blah, blah, blah. It's like you need 12 people to be up in this. You're up always. But he's like, I'm doing you guys a favor because, you know, you guys showed up. In reality, like he's trying to basically always be in the green by raising the prices. Because again,
and withholding that price purse up front and then adding it later allows you to, but it
also creates FOMO because if I don't show up because it's so expensive and then you come to me, hey man, dude, he put an extra $2,000 in there, it was crazy. I'm like, oh fuck, like I missed out.
Also, it's this thing where I always see it where it's, oh, well, if we have 30 people, you get $1,000. Mm-hmm. But if 60 people show up, you get $1,500. If 100 people show up, you get $2,000. It's like,
it doesn't make any sense. I mean, like, and also like the CBR course, like for a course like that, that's historical. It hasn't changed in years, decades. It's been there for a very long time. So the permitting probably doesn't change much. Nothing goes on. There's like Panasonic is there. Nothing goes on there. Yeah. So he probably like the previous owner that sold CBR, like what he was paying, you guys probably still paying the same amount. It probably an extra like maybe like 10%. So it's not like ridiculous. Like we're not in downtown LA.
Reg has doubled.
But Reg has doubled. And not only has Reg doubled, but the price per has decreased. There used to be a lot of money in CBR. CBR was like a gold standard race. And for a while, and still sometimes, some of the hard, like I average higher power sometimes in CBRs and I do in like pro level races, like not NRC crits. Like I'll do like 360 at a CBR and then do like 320 the day 2 of Tulsa. And I'm like,
and I guess for explanation too, CBR is a local LA historic like 4-corner crit series. Yeah. So that way everybody that's listening knows what we're talking about.
Is like
it's like the LA.
Yeah, it's the LA like bike race to do, right? If you're gonna race crits and you want to get in crits and you live in SoCal, you got to go to CBR, right? And it's where we practice so much, like lead outs, breakaways, anything you think of, we do at CBR. And it stands for California Bicycle Racing. It used to be like so many pros would come to LA for training in the winter or in the early preseason, and CBR would have people from like Jelly Belly or Hank Happy, like Phil Guyman would show up and lap the field, or like Robin Carpenter would show up, or like all European pros would show up. So everyone would show up to CBR. Then they used to do Dash for Cash, which was a shit show. If you wanted, like, it was basically like it would go up to anywhere between $20 and $50 per lap for an extended period of time. Sometimes it was like for like the whole race.
Yeah, I remember I did one where it was for the first 45 minutes it was $20 a lap.
Yeah.
For the next 40 minutes it was $50 a lap, and for the last 10 laps it was $100 a lap.
It was fucked.
That'd be like, so fun though, dude.
It's so much fun, but like talk about full gas. It was crazy, but CBR is so special for us because like now we have 3 teams, right? So the Miami Blazers, Austin Outlaws, and Legion of LA. So like there's this like crazy thing. Everyone says that we're colluding, which is so crazy to talk about in crit and bike racing. Like there's no such thing as colluding in bike racing.
I was trying to explain that if 2 different teams, say in this case, Legion and Blazers, if you both have somebody up the road and now in the pack you see collusion, no shit. But that's how bike racing works. Yeah. I'm not going to ride. You're not going to ride. We're going to work together to not ride. It's on somebody else.
It's racing with a common goal. The reason why I think it's colluding because it's all under the same organization. But it's racing with a common goal. Even if you 2 fuckers are up the road, right? Blazer has a sprinter and Legion has a sprinter. Hey, man, put 2 guys in the front. I'm going to put 2 guys in the front. Let's bring this shit back. Brainstorm. Give us one of your guys. Let's bring this back for a field sprint. That's not collusion. That's not colluding. That's racing for a common goal. It happens all over the world tour. They did it today in the field sprint. You've seen Trek, you've seen Alpecin, you've seen Lotto all in the front with the big dudes trucking away. That's racing for a common goal. That's how bike racing works. And we race locally. We have Luke Fetzer, new up and coming bike riders in Austin. I'm on Blazers. Justin is on Legion, and we were like, we got to teach Luke how it's going to be like for him. Also, we want to practice lead outs. We want to practice racing as a team. So let's race together at this local bike race, right? Everyone's like, oh, you got to fucking colluding. It's like, well, it's not any different. I told this dude to help me out in Chula Vista. I'm like, hey, man, I don't want to race by myself. Like, just keep it together. I'm going to go for the sprint, and then I'll kick you off some cash. Fuck it.
Yeah.
It's not colluding. I mean, it kind of is. But,
well, actually, before we
it's on a local level, right? So it's like Like if I go to Tulsa, I'm gonna kill this guy.
You know how many times at a local level though, like in a Cat 3 race or something, I'm trying to get my points and I'm like, all these fucking dudes are making it hell on me because they are doing crazy shit.
Yeah.
They're fucking on my race. Like me and you, bro, let's roll it. Let's get off the front. You know how many times me and somebody else have like two up attacked the field just to get away so we can get our goddamn points and people will leave us alone?
But it's also local racing. And like this stuff is important. It all goes back to learning and your skills, right? Local racing, group riding, crit practices is where you develop these things. This is our development benchmark that we have. And in SoCal, we have so many. There's a crit practice in almost every part of Southern California. There's a group ride in almost every part of Southern California. I did Swami's the other day. They tried to X me out. Didn't work out. Like there's a crit practice in every part of SoCal, and there's a crit in every part. So we're racing local crits. The local guys for sure treat it. It's like if you're not doing CBR, a lot of guys that's like their like season, right?
Yeah.
CBR. But for like a lot of us that race like on the national level,
That's
like,
your warm up.
That's our warm up. That's how we practice. Like I don't care if I lose. I still get paid. So it's like if I tell people that sometimes too, like you're racing for me to lose, but my check is more than the payout that we're getting.
Yeah.
I don't care.
You're a professional bike racer.
Yeah,
you
I
get paid
really
to race your
don't
bike.
care. So it's like you have work tomorrow. Like I'm gonna go sleep in and ride my bike. So it's like, but like I'm here to practice. I'm here to get better, and I'm here to teach if you're willing to learn. You know, I talk to Kyle Cooper a lot. Kyle Cooper, Dr. Kyle Cooper, like nice guy. I'm always giving him free game, and he's always messaging me asking for free game. Not many people ask questions enough, but then when they get surprised when people with more experience do something, and it's a wild thing. So I'm like I'm super thankful for it, and I hope anyone listening is if you want to fucking race crits, group rides, crit practices, local racing. And if you don't know any of those things, talk to someone that knows someone that can get you the insight and the deets on it. Like I train on group rides even in the off season. One group ride a week on off season, just to keep the legs sharpened, keep the mind sharpened. Like at least one group ride a week, or maybe every 2 weeks I hop on a group ride. A lot of group rides are seasonal, some are year round, or like a crit practice when daylight savings switches, crit practices start up. Like it's so important to do a crit practice. It's so important to do a group ride with people that are stronger than you. You've been training all week long and you go to this group ride. This fucker has been tapering for Saturday group ride.
Yeah,
and he's
dude.
just blowing your door. That's so good. It's
I've
humbling.
got 500 TSS in the legs and some dude at SDBC is ripping me apart up some
Ripping you
stupid
apart.
hill. I'm like,
It's humbling, right? But it also pulls you out, right? It forces you to ride in such an uncomfortable state. And then like you transfer all this stuff into when you hop in a big crit. Because like the other thing too is like these local crits, there's about 5 guys, right, that can do what you do. In a national level, there's 30 that can do what you do.
I equate that to, so my experience in that is like when I went to college for the first time, I came from like, you know, doing well in my class, knew math really well, all this stuff. I was like, I'm so smart. Look at me. You know, you go sit down in this room full of like 300 people. And I studied engineering. So it was like all a bunch of math dorks and shit.
Yeah.
And so I come in this hall and I was like, you know, I did this on my SAT. I was this rank in my class. And it's like you sit down and one of my professors was like, look around the room. You're all that rank in your class. You all did that on the SATs. Welcome. And it's like, oh shit. Like then it gets real because now you're studying that's your new like pool of individuals that you have to stand out from. It's like you're saying, you know, on the local scene, there's a very small portion of people that can do what you do, but then you go to the pro scene, it's a much larger pool. That is your new standard.
Yeah. You go from being in like the top 10% in the race to the top like 0.1%. Like you're not the best anymore, you know? There's always someone that knows more than you do in some way, shape, or form, right? Whether it's on managing power, whether it's turning, if it's sprinting, like, you know, there's always someone that has learned more. And it's humbling, especially when you get up there and you're like, oh, like, this fucker's fast, or this guy is a dog, you know, like, or like, and then you go in and like, dude, how the fuck can you do that? You know? And like, there's always a way to add to that. And you gotta be receptive to that. Like that's what I yearn for people to be like so more receptive to learn. Like one of the most best piece of advice I've learned as a sprinter is like you can win or lose a sprint within the first 5 pedal strokes. Your first 5 pedal strokes are so key. 5 to 10 are so key in your sprint. It's the wind up. If you don't get it right, you can lose it. Because if you are over geared and you don't get your push and pull right on your sprint, someone behind you is in the right gear and he gets it perfectly, he's gonna wheel off on you. He's gone. And you can get it right after that and slip into the slipstream, and now you're kind of gaining, but it's like he got it right from the jump. And if you like, we do the like speed sign sprints, and they're from like 30 meters out, like you're real close. It's just about the jump. You want to be in the right gear. You want to be paying attention. You're reading the body language of the person next to you. You're looking straight, but you're looking at peripheral. Do you jump first? Does he jump first? You gotta get the right gear right. And it's always peak power of like 1900, 2000, 800, 1800.
Yeah, just super big torque stuff.
Super big number, but it's all about those first 5 pedal strokes. Because it's like when you're in the race and you get those first 5 pedal strokes right, you're like, oh yeah, I'm about to wheel off. Like I'm ghost town. And it's like a wheelie. You can feel it when you get in the sweet spot. You're like, in like every stroke, the power is going through the bike, through the legs. And you're just like, oh yeah, this is it. You know, so it's like, there's so many of these little like small little like free game things that like people don't even think about. Like people saw that I lost the first day of Tulsa. Yeah. Like I got second. And they were like, oh, like we're really in too big of a gear. Like it seemed like you kind of hesitated. And I was like, no, like I was too close to the wheel. So when coming out of the corner,
couldn't run into the sprinter's gap like you wanted to.
So there's 2 things. One I've learned is that it doesn't matter what you do in the rest of the course. On the last turn, you want to take the fastest line possible. It doesn't matter if someone comes underneath you, comes on the outside of you, is in front of you, behind you. Take the fastest line possible. If you take the fastest line and that line allows someone to get next to you, then you just got to drag race it. But if you take a sharper line to cut out and it pushes you wide, but the guy next to you took a faster line because he took the right line, and you're trying to protect the inside, and now he has the momentum and you don't have the speed to be on the gear, like you messed up. Now you didn't get to launch your sprint because you made a mistake. So 1, take the fastest line, which I did, but I was too close to the wheel. So when we were exiting the corner, I'm on the wheel, I'm in the slipstream, I'm carrying more speed than he is, and it pushed me into his wheel. So I either can be pushed on this side, which in that moment is not good because we're moving to the left. So I would have pushed myself over his wheel. So I moved myself to the left of the wheel, but now I can't get out. So
he has control over where you go.
But he's also moving with me. So I had tap brakes to come out. And when I came out, the guy behind me already had gas.
Yeah.
So he's already going. So when I got onto the gear, all I can do is, he's here. All I can do is sprint into his draft and try and catch him. And when I was catching him, it's too late. He already has like 10 meters on me.
The line's fixed.
Exactly. So it's like, and then Justin is like, I saw exactly what you did wrong. So you got to leave a little bit of room to sprint into the wheel. I would have left half a bike length, came out of that corner, even if I'm gaining into the slipstream, which is what you want, I have enough room to dictate where I want to go. If you're on the wheel and you're sweeping, you want to leave room so you can dictate where you want to push the riders away. If you're too close, then you're like, and you're going to overlap and you're going to crash. So it's like that one little mistake is that one little thing that some people are like, oh, I just hesitated. No, you got to give yourself room to make decisions. That's a sprinter's mistake, So it's like, but it's so small, so minute that I don't know if a lot of riders think about. But I'm like,
a lot of track riders do.
Yeah,
which makes perfect sense, right? It's common knowledge. Even in cars, get into the slipstream. That's the fastest thing you could possibly do is get into the slipstream. But give yourself room to make a decision. if you don't do that, you're going to fuck yourself. You're going to end up on the ground, and then you're going to hit the guy in the front of you. He's not even going to know that you crashed. He's like, oh, well, what? That was crazy.
Heard something back there. Felt my wheel rev a little
wild.
bit.
So, yeah, I really hope people like.
What's up? Welcome to the party, McCoy. He's like, yo, I hear people out here.
Yeah, I really hope people like really start to like do that and like you just ask questions, bro. Like everyone that I know of that is like experienced wants to give, like if they're so willingly.
I mean, even just listening to the end of this, right? You just provided so much value to people in the last 2 minutes of this discussion, right? Talking
Yeah, but now
about
they have to
what
listen
you
to the
did.
whole episode to get the good 2 minutes.
I'll put that at the front so everybody knows.
I'm gonna attach my Cash App.
Pay
This is
Dante.
not free game. This
Yeah, this is paid game.
Yeah, paid game.
Here, I'll put it behind a paywall. We got Patreon? No, we don't yet. That's how it works, right?
It's like there's so much, man. Like Criterium Racing, I absolutely love it. It's so dynamic.
So give us a quick 5-year trajectory of where you see yourself and Criterium Racing going. Even just like a 2-minute, like this is what I see.
If things start to fall in line, I see Criterium Racing having 1 to 3 different racing leagues, or a series, better say that, but to say a league per se, ranging between 5 to 15 different races. That for as a bike race, it gives you a full calendar of racing, right? I see the prize purses coming up. I see the entry to being a professional Criterium Racing continuing to grow. We get paid pretty well, but I see it becoming more of like way above the getting paid a livable wage to getting paid like, it's a lot more fucking money.
Athlete money.
Like I want to be making $300,000 a year just to ride my bike, right? Race crits. For me, like my goal since the ethos of Legion or WRD was what the name of the organization that owns and operates all 3 teams right now. My goal is to continue to build that and help in any way I possibly can. So it's like, I don't really have any ambitions of racing with other teams. Like people don't get it, like why we're successful. They think it's just because we win races. And that's not really true. That's a portion of it. And I don't think people will get it unless they take the time to understand it. So but also I feel like we can and will be the most successful in what we're doing if we just kind of stick to it. We've had some up and downs within and our trajectory. So I want to help continue to build more teams, bring in more riders, and also can be a contribution to the success of the organization as an athlete, as someone that can help also behind scenes. I want to race for at least another 3 to 5 years, So it's like I'd love to continue racing at the highest level on the national circuit, but if I can't or if I don't, that's fine with me. Like I'm at a point where it's like, again, like my value isn't just as being a pro bike rider. Like I have so much value in that. And as long as I get to ride my bike and race, like I'm essentially good, but I also am good with social media. I'm good with marketing. I'm good with creative, coordinating. Like I have an eye for things and I have a lot of skills in different areas that I'm definitely trying to even now branch into. So I see me still being an athlete in the next 3 to 5 years, continuing to help build the organization that we've built in the past 6-7 years now, and making it a profitable and sustainable racing league. That's the goal, to build a league, to have our own races, but operate through other races and just have just this cool, dope thing that no one else has, right? And if you want, you got to come here. Like 6-day racing. 6-day racing is its own fucking thing. It's so much fun. So it's fun to even watch on TV. You're just like, do you fuck yeah. So it's
People
like
smoking in the stands.
smoking in the fucking stand, rolling joints. Like it's crazy. So it's like continuing to build that. I see it being very successful, and like all we need is like one good like
Buy-in.
Yeah.
Because eventually, like from my perspective, that's all it is. There's a lot of people that are interested, a lot, but they're just waiting for the first person to make the first move. And once that happens, it's gonna snowball.
It needs to be YouTube TV.
Dude, 1,000. I'm gonna do next one we do. If I pull up in a Range Rover, then you'll know. Like
He sold out.
I'm not gonna say anything, but there'll
We
be
know what's
signs.
happening.
There'll be signs that I'm doing all right.
That huge decal on your back window.
Yeah. Like I always tell people like if you won $1 million, how would we know? Or you were like $1 billion, how would we know? I'm like,
Bro, I see
you know, when you
everywhere.
go somewhere and you're like, you ask for like guac and like, oh, it's $62. You're like, it's fine. Go ahead. Don't even tell me how much. Just throw 2 servings in there.
Ooh, all right.
So-
If you guys see Dante out and about putting guacamole on his shit,
Don't even just do your thing.
let us know.
Just do your thing. So
Is that the end?
I mean, we're deep in it. You got more questions?
What do you want to plug? Do you want to plug something?
like my butt. Like what are you talking about?
Yo, cut that.
Sorry, it all stays in. No cutting.
That's
I mean,
like
I don't even like people like that, bro, to be honest with you. No, I mean, not really. I think like if I just like close off anything, like I said, like there's a common misconception with crit racing, right? And it's actually a very beautiful thing. And I think it's gonna take a lot of work and a lot of time to change it. And I really want to see people give us our flowers for what we've done, especially Justin and Cory Williams primarily. Like there's a lot of hate, but like the reason why the Germans came, the people from the UK, from New Zealand, why Rainstorm, like all these ethos of teams came because of Legion.
yeah.
Like, and if people want to hate, it's all and you guys are bullies or you guys blah, you fight this and blah, like all this bullshit. Like the reason why you are talking and you have what you have is because of Legion of Los Angeles, because Justin Williams started that fucking team. And I want people to start giving them their fucking flowers, because right, it's literally why everyone has what they have. It's the reason why Tulsa is the biggest bike race in the fucking world. It already was, but on a local, not local, but like on like a domestic, like here.
It was the big US race.
Yeah.
But like it is known internationally. Like I've talked to people that never even done a crit race that know of Tulsa Tough now. Like I know people in the NBA that know of Tulsa Tough. Like it's the biggest fucking race and has gotten so much notoriety, and crit racing has gained so much traction to start because of what we have done. And people need to start acknowledging that, because it's like, it is the truth. But I don't get me wrong. I love that people are starting teams, and I love people that want to be a crit team and they want to dominate. I fucking love that. I love that. I met a kid on the group ride, Swami's yesterday. What do you do? I race crits. That's it. Yeah, man. I think he's 16. Wants to start racing crits. He's strong as shit, snappy as hell. And I was like, that's tight. Luke Fetzer's like, yeah, I could have went to Europe again if I wanted to. He's 18 because I just want to race crits. I love that. That's so sick. And the fact that you got one of the best American bike racers on the biggest world tour team in the world sneaking in to race Tulsa.
He had to get a UCI waiver for that.
Yeah.
Like you can't just go.
I don't even want to, I'm going to say it.
Yeah, we can.
But he was like, oh, like, he's like, they don't even know I'm here. He's like, I'm just going to do it. He's like, after I race it, like if you notice, he didn't post shit. Go to his Instagram. He hasn't posted shit about Tulsa. Not one thing. Didn't even post a story. He just raced it. Because it was, bro.
It was live stream, so we can leave that in.
Yeah,
but
it was live stream, but like he's not like, I can't wait to race Tulsa. Patch would be like, if you don't get your ass back to Europe, what the fuck is wrong with you? You're not, no. Like, no. So he's like, but like he loves to race it. And people talked about it as like, oh, World Tour guy came and like fucked you guys all up. I'm like, he's a crit racer. He's a born crit racer, and he's American, and he loves crits. Like, he's not a European guy that was like, I dare a European to come over and think they can just dominate. And that's the thing too. Another thing, people. You let these fucking Europeans come over here and you have no pride to be like, we're not letting these fuckers win. We're going to dominate. You guys aren't real bike racers, bro. Like, when we show up to Europe, they're like, oh, American, let's show them how fun it really is. They want to ruin our day so we don't come back. This is our shit. You need to fucking show up. I don't care if it's a Cat 3 race. If you're in a Cat 3 and fucking Sasha from Russia is like, oh, crit racing. Like, I'm about to fuck you up, Sasha. Like, you didn't even do anything. You said good morning to me. Well, I'm about to say goodbye to you. Like, simple as that. Like, it should be such like a...
It's like a national pride.
Welcome to competition.
National pride.
You can't let someone else win the Indy 500.
Exactly.
There's a reason the Olympics exist. There's a reason the World Cup exists.
It should be so prideful, but in like such a competitive way. Like, yes, you came here, but I'm going to show you why we are the best at what we do. And I'm like, yes, okay, one of the Germans won one of the days. I think Ribble, the UK guys, won 1 or 2 days of Speed Week. Okay, all right. But don't get too comfortable.
Where my Aussies at? Come on over.
DC last year did have the Australian National Crit Champ show up, which was tight as fuck.
That's rad, dude. Let's go.
There was the US Pro Crit. Oh, no, it was Michael Hernandez who had the amateur jersey. Then Cory had the Belizean jersey. And then the Aussie had the Australian national champion jersey, and then Alec had the Canadian jersey.
Yeah. And the German national champion.
And the German national champion was there.
I remember watching that and being like, oh, that's a lot of flags.
That's fun.
Bro, that was the top. Dude, Justin was so hyped at the start. That's why he was like riding like a savage. He's like, fuck yeah, we out here. And I'm like, walk the fuck in. Like, he was so hyped when I was just like this. I was so ecstatic about it. And like, the last thing is like, I wish media outlets covered criteriums more and gave it our respect. Cause like, as American outlets like SoCal Cycling, Velo News, and Cycling News and Cycling Weeklies are American outlets. This is huge news. The fact that there was 5 teams, like international teams, full crit teams in the US racing the biggest criteriums in the world, and it was not covered, is crazy. Like,
even Scott's got his like SRCT dudes coming out now and like doing something in the US, and they're UK based. Like,
and yes, social media does so much justice, and I know like they're using their outlets to do so, but like,
you need traditional media.
That's big fucking news, and it's limiting our voice when these media outlets who have a voice, right, a reach that we can't necessarily reach, a validation, a valid reach that they're not saying anything. They're not even acknowledging that Tulsa Tough is happening.
Yeah, ESPN, cover Tulsa Tough, bro. Straight
Dude,
up. Like, even
ESPN too.
Sports Center, bro. Let's go. Yeah, the Ocho.
It don't fucking matter, bro. Like, just something, bro. Because like, it is news. And like, as Americans, as having our own shit, we don't need Europe, respectfully. Like, we don't need them. They have their own thing, and they don't need us. We are taking our time in our life to go and intermingle into their culture, into what they do best, and to show that we can be the best at what they do best. This is what we fucking do. This is how we can create and build our own thing in cycling. And people are coming across the pond to compete in our space.
And I hope it is generational, because you see a lot of the old heads, you know, they wake up at 4 a.m. and they watch the tour, you know. I'm hoping a lot of the younger dudes are like 6 p.m. streaming Tulsa Tough on a Friday night. Let's get pizza, beer, hang out with our boys, and watch our boys throw down.
Slowly starting. Even Tulsa. I have so many friends that flew out just to watch Tulsa.
That's sick.
Like, that's where we're headed.
Very sick.
People like will fly out to watch a bike race because it's that entertaining, but there's also more layers.
There's the stuff going on after the freaking race.
I fucking hate baseball. But like a Dodger game is fun as fuck. It's a
good
beer,
time.
It's different.
it's different. You got a Joey Chestnut glizzy, and you're just fucking.
How many Joey Chestnut glizzies can you eat in 3 minutes, Dante? That's the next episode.
Like it's like it's a whole vibe, right? You're not going for the game. If they win, even better.
Yes.
But like it's part of the vibe, and like we're entering this wave, and like I've come to terms that it may not be or happen while I'm on the start line, but it may be for the next generation of, you know, the next generation coming up. Like what I'm doing and what Justin and Cory and everything everyone's doing is for the next generation, so that like the people can start and be like, I'm gonna be a fucking bike racer. Dude, their starting salary is $500,000 in the bike racing. This dude's making $20 million. He's endorsed by fucking
Versace.
That'd be rad, dude.
Like that. It may be for that, and like if and I'm gonna say if and when we get there, the fact that I had some contribution to history is gonna be like, hey, chef's kiss. That's how you end it right there.
Cut.
Chop that shit up. Joey Chestnut. Hope you're good, my boy.
I'm down.
I'm down.
Let's
Boom,
call it.
done. Call it.
All right.